Chapter 85. Wang Lu, are you lovelorn? The lady boss propped herself up from behind the counter. Her face was brimming with gossipy enthusiasm. After you went down the mountain, you met a beautiful mortal world woman, and you planned to bathe in the river of love. However, the path of immortal and mortal is different, so you couldn't give her the happiness she wanted. Therefore, you had no choice but to part with her, but your heart still couldn't let her go. Is that it? Are you in heat recently? Don't talk nonsense like this. Wang Lu snappily scolded. However, there is one thing that you said. This time, I did encounter some trouble when I went down the mountain. Therefore, I want to see if you can mobilize a few helpers. Trouble? Little Ling Er was even more surprised. You actually encountered trouble? That's probably a big trouble. Hurry up and tell me so I can be happy. Wang Lu slapped the counter. Bring me the wine. With the help of the wine, Wang Lu continued to scold her and told her about his encounter in the Wang family village. The result was, you were actually abused by a group of country bumpkins. Is there a need to be so frustrated? F***ck, how could this woman be so gentle and considerate? Unfortunately, Wang Lu really couldn't refute her because, rather than saying that he lost to the 7-star sex lowly people, it was better to say that he lost to the Wang family village's group of low-ability villagers. If they had a bit of brain, they wouldn't drag Wang Lu down so much. Inwardly, he was very annoyed. With Wang Lu's temper, how could he be so tolerant? Although in the end, he still killed to his heart's content, scaring the simple villagers to the point that they pissed their pants. However, for Wang Lu, that was already the result of him trying his best to suppress it. It wasn't that he was violent and bloodthirsty. He was just good at solving problems in the simplest way. When dealing with scammers, one should kill them all with one strike of the sword. However, in his hometown, everything he did was tied up. Wearing a condom was really uncomfortable. Unfortunately, that was his own home, so he couldn't not wear it. Therefore, the current compromise is to capture that 7-star sect leader and bring him to the Wang family village to explain everything. If the culprit confesses, those villagers would have nothing to say, right? The lady boss frowned as she ate the stir-fried broad beans. I don't really understand the problem of this kind of cult, but I always feel that your plan is a little unrealistic. F***ck, you're just a third-rate boss with a daily turnover of over 10,000. What qualifications do you have to evaluate my proposal? The lady boss was so angry that her chest was about to explode. If you look down on me like that, then don't ask me. You look like a bitter child that no one wants. You came to me for comfort, and now you're throwing a tantrum to me? Wang Lu slammed the table. Who's asking for consolation? Don't think too highly of yourself. No, think too highly of yourself, okay? While they were arguing, another person came in. Sister Ling, I've prepared the things you want. There. Senior Marshal Brother Wang Lu? Wang Lu turned around. Wen Bao? Why are you here? The person outside the door was Wen Bao. Carrying a big pig, he stood at the door with a slightly awkward expression. Don't block the door, come in. When the lady boss invited Wen Bao into the house to put down the things, she explained the reason. It turned out that after the experiential learning began, the other disciples had already chosen their target location, but Wen Bao was hesitant to make a decision. Because no matter which location he chose, it seemed to be too difficult for him. Wen Bao's cultivation was different from the common inner court disciples. He walked a relatively extreme path, which was somewhat similar to Wang Lu's, except that he was extremely proficient in attack. Before he went down the mountain, Wen Bao's black iron sword art had reached the maximum level, and he was currently practicing the real immortal sword art, Mountain Breaker Sword. At the same time, his chi cultivating stage had also reached the peak of the 8th level, and his output was very terrifying. Even high-level chi cultivating stage senior martial brothers would be amazed by it. But other than that, he had nothing else to offer. On the other hand, training in the Mountain Gate was all about comprehensive ability. Wen Bao seriously racked his brain and made an evaluation of every suggested location. He felt that even the simplest one was quite dangerous for him. Therefore Wen Bao simply withdrew. Because he couldn't go up the mountain, he temporarily lived in the Spirit Creek town at the foot of the mountain, and waited for the summons of his teammates. Teams were allowed to form for experiential learning, and the final report could also be written together, but a team was limited to 2 people. As for multiple teams moving at the same time, it was also possible, but it was inevitable that points would be deducted if the report was repeated. Wen Bao worked for the lady boss while waiting for the summons of his teammates. In the words of the lady boss, it was just eating and waiting for death. In the end he really waited. Senior Marshal Brother Wang Lu, why didn't you call me when you left? The fatty was full of grievances. That year, the two of them went through the Azure Dragon Gorge together, and they had a lot of tacit understanding. They thought that after this experiential learning, their offensive and defensive combination would be able to continue their glory, but in the end, Wang Lu flew alone. It was depressing. But why did you come back? Wang Lu thought that since he had nothing to hide, he told the story again. After listening to it, Wen Bao's face was filled with indignation. That seven-star sect is really hateful. They actually dare to bully Senior Marshal Brother's hometown. It's really unbearable. The lady boss commented, really? I think those villagers are even more hateful. How could they be so stupid? They would rather believe an inexplicable outsider than Wang Lu. In any case, we've lived together for more than 10 years, yet they actually thoughtlessly regarded Wang Lu as a devil. Wang Lu snorted. How could he not think so in his heart? Compared to that group of swindlers from the seven-star sect, those villagers from the Wang family village annoyed him more. They were obviously good people, but after not seeing them for more than 2 years, how could they become so stupid and ignorant? However, Wen Bao took it as a matter of course. They're just some villagers, so it's normal for them to be stupid. If they're not stupid, how could they manage them? The more stupid they are, the better. Wang Lu and the lady boss were silent. They were deeply shocked by Wen Bao's understatement. It seems like it's quite reasonable. The lady boss chewed a mouthful of broad bean and vaguely commented. Wang Lu also nodded. It's really not something that a person with his level of intelligence would say. His words are crude, but the truth is not crude. It's a famous saying. Wen Bao embarrassedly said, actually, it was my father who told me this. I didn't understand its meaning before, so I just simply wrote it down. Oh, no matter what, you're the son of the state teacher, so you do know something. Hee hee, Senior Marshal Brother, you flatter me. If you don't mind, can we team up? Team up? Wang Lu was stunned for a moment and then began to carefully size up Wen Bao. Actually, it's not impossible. In any case, we're lacking people, so it's good to have more able-bodied men. If we want to flatten the seven-star sect, I alone am not enough. Right? Wen Bao was in high spirits, but he soon realized a problem. What's the approximate level of the seven-star sect? Wang Lu said, a low-level sect doesn't even have the qualification to register in the Wanxian League. The sect leader is, at most, a Shudan stage cultivator. Wen Bao was petrified. His whole body was completely frozen. Senior Marshal Brother, what did you say? What stage is the sect leader? Shudan stage, humph, he's not even at the King Pill level. Wen Bao spat out a mouthful of blood. Senior Marshal Brother, you're just a low-level Qi cultivating stage cultivator. Where did your sense of superiority come from? No matter how bad he is, he's still a Shudan stage cultivator, a Shudan stage cultivator. His magical power circulation has been compressed into a single point, so whether it's quality or quantity, he's more than 100 times higher than us. You. Wang Lu sneered. You think too much. More than 100 times is the level of our Lingjian school's Shudan stage cultivators. For a low-level Shudan stage cultivator like the seven-star sect, it's already amazing if they can reach 10 times higher. Don't forget that principle. When a spirit sword sect disciple goes down the mountain and meets a low-level cultivator, their cultivation level must be increased by 1 level, which means low-level Qi cultivating stage can be converted into low-level foundation establishment stage. Wen Bao was about to go crazy. That's just a very irresponsible and simple formula. Moreover, the applicable range is between the foundation establishment stage and the King Pill stage. For people like us who haven't entered the sect for a long time, we don't have enough accumulation to challenge a higher-level cultivator. Not to mention, a low-level Qi cultivating stage cultivator is just a low-level foundation establishment stage cultivator, which is a big gap from a Shudan stage cultivator. Wang Lu said, but I'm a successor disciple, so it's not a problem for me to increase another level, right? Have you woken up yet? So what if you're a successor disciple? You want to increase another level? Do you think you're Lu Li or Zhu Shiyao? Thinking of those two evildoer successor disciples, Wang Lu had to explain again. You see, my non-phase method's defensive power is amazing. At least in terms of defensive ability, it can be considered as a Shudan stage cultivator, right? How could there be such a shameless algorithm like you? Even if it's a higher level challenge, it's still 2 levels higher? Moreover, what's the use of having an amazing defensive power? Do you want to be a sandbag for other people? That's why I want to catch a few successor disciples. But in the end, I only caught you, so I can only make do with it. Don't look for me for this kind of suicidal thing. I still want to live for a few more years. Speaking of which, your skill in ridiculing has improved recently? It's all because of you, senior brother. It's been like this since the experiential learning in the small clear sky peak. Every time, it's as if you want to force people into a dead end. Wang Lu and the lady boss looked at each other in dismay. They found this almost hysterical Wenbao interesting. Good, from now on you're called the awakening type Wenbao. What awakening type? Why does it sound like I can't live for more than 10 minutes? In short, your concern is reasonable. If the 7-star sect really has a Shudan stage cultivator as I expected, the two of us alone are not enough. At this time the lady boss interrupted, not to mention the two of you, even if you let the other two successor disciples form a team, a Shudan stage opponent would be very difficult to deal with, so, Wang Lu smiled. So, the lady boss suddenly felt a chill on her back, as if she was possessed by something unclean. So, Sister Ling, this time I'll have to trouble you to help me. You see, as an outsider, even if you join the team, you don't have a spot. Moreover, there was no moreover. Sister Ling resolutely said. I don't want it. Wang Lu was taken aback. Really? What? You're just idling in the restaurant. What do you mean idling? That's really rude. It's obviously the same level as the Misty Peak cafeteria, so it's useless to deny it. You actually put me and that Western Continent dog chef on the same level? Let me tell you, if you want me to help, there's no way. Upon hearing such a resolute answer, Wang Lu chuckled. Wenbao, you go out first. What? Okay. The fatty didn't ask any more and quickly ran out. Therefore, he was very lucky that he didn't hear the conversation in the inn. Master, please lend your disciple a hand. Damn, you're using this trick again? Master, please lend me a hand. You? Okay, I promise you. Enough, don't burn the incense for me. Chapter 86. In short, for various reasons, our wise and great sister Ling has decided to team up with us to conquer the 7-star sect. Outside the inn, under Wenbao's unsurprised gaze, Wang Lu introduced his new companions. The illegitimate daughter of the Lingjian School's sect leader, the lady boss of the Spirit Creek town, and the top martial arts grandmaster, Miss Feng Ling. The lady boss's face showed waning interest. Okay, stop playing around. Let's finish this so I can go back to sleep. Run my inn. Now that you've formed a team, do you have a plan for what to do next? Of course, the next step is to directly flatten the 7-star sect's headquarters, capture the sect leader, and let him go to the Wang family village to apologize and explain everything to the villagers. And then, I don't care what the village bumpkins think. Where's the 7-star sect's headquarters? How would I know? *T. If you don't know, why are you still playing around? I'm going back to sleep. Don't worry, if you don't know you can check. Wang Lu sneered. Following the vine to the melon is very easy. Where is the vine? Of course it's the same old place, the Wang family village. The lady boss was surprised. Haven't you already found all the 7-star sect's people in the village? The lotus root is still connected. Where did the lotus root come from? Forget it, the Wang family village, right? It's not far from here, right? I'll say this in advance. My ability is only effective in the Blue River region, so I understand the Feng Shui vein node in the Blue River region. Rest assured, I brought you here to increase our fighting power, not to hold us back. The 7-star sect is just a low-level sect, so their headquarters is not too far from the Wang family village. Wang Lu's so-called lotus root is still connected soon opened the eyes of the lady boss and the others. 4 days later, the group arrived at the Wang family village from the Spirit Sword Mountain. That night, under the command of Wang Lu, the upright and sincere lady boss did a despicable business. She went deep into the house and kidnapped the villagers. Moreover, in accordance with Wang Lu's instruction, she used a coarse hemp rope to tie the hostage into a dumpling. The rope was quite tight, making the hostage's face turn red and purple like a roasted lobster. Hey, I think this binding method might kill someone. Carrying the hostage on his shoulder, the lady boss carried him all the way out of the village and placed him on the peak of the Dog-Ear Mountain. She really couldn't understand Wang Lu's intentions, so she simply gave him a reminder. Wang Lu didn't explain much. He walked straight to the hostage and took out the rag in his mouth. Then, with a single slap, Wang Lu knocked out half a row of teeth. Then he said, "If you don't want to die, then don't court death. Seeing that we're from the same hometown, I actually don't want to kill you, Xiaohu." Wang Xiaohu, who was tied up like a lobster man, was filled with panic. It took him some time to recognize Wang Lu's voice. "Brother Wang Lu, don't kill me." The voice was a little leaky and weak. Wang Lu said, "I'll ask you a few questions. I'll let you go after I answer them." Do you know where the 7-star sect's headquarters is? No, I don't know. Only my master, who is a 4-stars emissary, is qualified to know the location of the main altar. Your master? Who is it? Titan, the cultivator that you killed that day. In addition to your master, who else do you know in the 7-stars sect? Zhoming Rui is the publicity envoy that you killed. Other than that, I haven't been in the sect for long, so I don't know much. Speaking to this, Wang Xiaohu trembled with fear. He feared that because he was useless, Wang Lu would kill him to vent his anger. However, when he looked sideways, he found out that Wang Lu's eyes were as cold as the moon, without the slightest fluctuation of emotion. In the past few days, did anyone from the 7-star sect come to look for you? Ah, yes. Oh, a 2-stars disciple that I don't know. He took the initiative to find me and showed me his sect's token. And then? He told me not to act rashly. The sect doesn't intend to be your enemy, but I have to keep an eye on the situation. Once there's a change, I have to inform him. What did you do? I didn't say anything. Even when some villagers proposed to look for trouble with your father, I tried my best to dissuade them. Enough, where is that contact person? He said that in the next few days he is hiding outside the village, peacefully cultivating. If you want to find him, you need to use a special magical tool. I hid him in my house and only I can find him. With that, Wang Xiaohu looked at Wang Lu with an expectant gaze. If he could take this opportunity to make Wang Lu let him go. The lady boss asked, "Do you need me to search for him?" Wang Lu shook his head. No need. Moreover, with your intelligence, it's very difficult to find him. Then Wang Lu took a deep breath. Under the light of the Emperor Bone, the 206 sword bones trembled, bursting out an unusually strong suction force. With his chi cultivating stage cultivation base, he once again used this absorption method. Compared to a few months ago, his strength had increased several times. The surrounding spiritual energy was bound by a huge suction force. It madly gathered together, forming an invisible stormy wave. As a human pillar, little Ling Er didn't feel this, but the 2 cultivators beside Wang Lu were horrified. Senior Marshal Brother Wang Lu, this is the mental cultivation method that when Bao cultivated could be considered to be big and open, and it could absorb a lot of spiritual energy. However, when he breathed in and out spiritual energy, the range of influence was at most 10 meters around him. Moreover, the repulsive force of spiritual energy was also very strong. Being able to absorb 10% of the spiritual energy was already not bad. However, just now, Wang Lu stirred up the spiritual energy of heaven and earth within a radius of more than 100 meters. In that split second, he breathed in and out spiritual energy, which reminded Wen Bao of the Taoist Master King Pil's deep meditation in the sect. He was only a low-level chi cultivating stage cultivator. How could he breathe in and out spiritual energy so intensely? In the eyes of the other cultivator, Wang Xiaohu, this scene shocked his mind and almost made his mind collapse. Relying on the 6 harmonies powder and spirit root cultivation, he became an outer disciple of the 7-star sect more than 2 years ago. After 2 years of painstaking cultivation with the full support of his father, he barely reached the 9th level chi cultivating stage and learned how to breathe in and out spiritual energy. Under full effort, he could draw a wisp of spiritual energy into his body like a trickle. According to his master, this was already a pretty good achievement. If he persisted, he would be able to reach the foundation establishment stage in his lifetime. However, just now Wang Lu breathed in and out. Even if he painstakingly cultivated for 2 years, he still wouldn't be able to catch up. Was this a real cultivator? If real cultivators were like this, then his 2 years of hard work was nothing. For a time, he didn't know how much grief and indignation bubbled up in his heart. However, this had nothing to do with Wang Lu. He breathed in and out spiritual energy at this time, not to show off how awesome his void spirit root was. In fact, this was a great irony for him. A massive amount of spiritual energy entered his body, but only 1% remained. Instead, it was to use the drastic change in spiritual energy to find something. The void spirit root's innate keen sense of touch allowed Wang Lu to quickly capture a trace of subtle change in the tide of spiritual energy. I got it, come with me. At the same time, somewhere in the mountain forest, Wei Wenqing, who was cultivating his sect's Heart Sutra under the rare bright moonlight, suddenly opened his eyes. Strange, is it an illusion? Why do I feel like there's a change in the spiritual energy? 4 cultivators with man-made spirit roots, especially those with inferior quality like the 6 harmony spirit roots, it was extremely difficult for them to detect the changes in the spiritual aura of heaven and earth. Sensing and absorbing the spiritual aura was like a blind man touching an elephant. It was just that, the change just now was too intense, so no matter how slow their perception was, they would still be able to detect it. Wei Wenqing thought for a moment and decided not to take the risk, so he temporarily stopped his meditation. For an outer disciple of his level, one more day of cultivation or one less day of cultivation really made no difference. So, this task of monitoring was really boring. As a 2-star disciple, he didn't know much about the Wang family village, but he vaguely knew that this was a place rich in spiritual energy. After the sect accidentally discovered it, they planned to develop this place as a strategic location for the sect's resurgence in the future. It was just that a few days ago, a major accident happened. He didn't know the specifics, but he heard that someone died. Could it be that the change in spiritual energy just now was caused by a fellow disciple who died with grievances? Feeling the gentle night under the moonlight, Wei Wenqing laughed at himself. In any case, he was a cultivator. Why did he have to scare himself? If he really met a little demon, he might not be his opponent. But waiting like this was really too boring. Why not take advantage of the night to explore the village? Looking at the village in the daytime, there were a few village girls who were elegant and refined. They really didn't look like they were from a remote mountain village. It would be too much of a pity to let a group of rough mountain men take advantage of them. It would be better to let him have a taste of the soup. At the same time, he could ponder the dual cultivation method. Thinking of this, Wei Wenqing's body suddenly became hot. However, the next moment, a simple and unadorned long sword was placed on his neck. It made his whole body quiver, and cold sweat suddenly gushed out like a fountain. Then, a ghost-like voice came from behind him. "Ha, I found a small fish." Punched and kicked, tied up, and tortured to extort a confession. It was too horrible to look at. Through the interrogation of Wei Wenqing, more facts were exposed. The 7-star sect was indeed reluctant to part with the Wang family village. For this kind of low-class sect, the rich spiritual energy in the Wang family village was a priceless treasure that they yearned for even in their dreams. However, the 7-star sect was also frightened by Wang Lu's 3 killings a few days ago, so they didn't dare to rashly move forward. However, when they heard that Wang Lu had left a few days ago, the 7-star sect's greed began to stir. One of the elders, who had spent the most effort in the Wang family village, sent several 2-star disciples to wander around the village as a lookout. Unfortunately, this was a bad move. These lookout minions not only didn't play their due role by sending valuable information back to the 7-star sect's headquarters, but instead, Wang Lu caught the clue and followed the clue to get to the melon. "Tell me, where's your 7-star sect's headquarters?" Wei Wenqing was tied up like a fried dough twist. His face was covered with blood, and his eyes were half panic-stricken and half vacant. After listening to Wang Lu's interrogation, he groaned for a long time, and his voice was broken. However, Wang Lu still understood his meaning. "Oh, you said you don't know. A 2-star disciple doesn't have the qualification to know the location of the sect's headquarters, and you're just instructed by a 4-star emissary. Fine, your chicken feather sect is so complicated. Tell me, where's that 4-star emissary?" Wei Wenqing groaned for a while, and then looked at Wang Lu with despair mixed with hope. "Marquis County? I can't believe you're this straightforward." Under the dim light of the night, looking at the already cold corpse on the ground, the lady boss sighed with emotion. "I thought you would at least spare his life." Wang Lu was silent for a moment. "Actually, I did think about sparing his life. I just let him be in a coma for a few days. When he wakes up, the matter has already been resolved, and a small fry like him won't be able to stir up any trouble." The lady boss was curious. "Then why did you?" I hesitated for a moment. "I didn't control my strength well. Who would have thought that this guy is so fragile?" Wang Lu shook his wrist and sighed with emotion. The lady boss said, "This guy's death is really unjust. But this is also good. If he really ran back to report, the 7-star sect would retaliate against the Wang family village." Who knew that Wang Lu actually sneered? "If the 7-star sect really has the guts, they would have made their move when I went back to the mountain to look for him. Not to mention, if they could really kill a few villagers to vent their anger, that would be a good thing. This group of idiots in the village won't shed tears until they see the coffin, so I'll let them see the coffin. Unfortunately, it's not convenient for me to do it myself." The lady boss felt a chill down her spine. "You're really ruthless to the Wang family village." Wang Lu sneered. "I used to be a gentle and amiable cultivator like you, until my knee was shot by an arrow. All of this was brought upon by those idiots in the village, and I've already done my best." The lady boss faintly sighed. "That's not the case. Wang Lu, I think you're a bit extreme." "Extreme? Extreme is good. Isn't this experiential learning in the sect to sever our ties with the mortal world?" If I don't go extreme, how could I sever my ties with the mortal world? You're simply misinterpreting it. Wang Lu was impatient to argue with the lady boss. He snapped his fingers. Wen Bao, explain it to her. Wen Bao was flattered to be entrusted with such a heavy responsibility in the face of danger. He quickly said to the lady boss, Sister Ling, this time you're wrong. You must know that the ignorance of ordinary people comes from their nature, which is deeply rooted and cannot be eliminated. To these fools, you should be as ruthless as your senior brother. Otherwise they will drag you down to the same level, and then use their rich experience to defeat you. So, don't treat them as human beings. They don't deserve to be human, they're just pigs, dogs, and insects. As the saying goes, the heaven and earth are heartless, treating all living things as straw dogs, that is. Wen Bao was about to continue talking, but when he turned around and saw the lady boss's cold eyes, his confidence immediately dropped by 90%. That is to say, you must eliminate the sympathy and pity for the fools, and use the attitude of a tool to rationally and objectively manage them, so that their lives have a little bit of insignificant value. Being stared at by the lady boss's cold steel-like eyes, Wen Bao's voice became more and more timid. Finally, his voice was even fainter than the chirping of the insects in the mountain, and then disappeared. Unfortunately, even if she defeated Wen Bao, the lady boss couldn't shake Wang Lu's mind. Only when he was in a good mood would he be easy to talk to, but once he was angry he would be exceptionally stubborn. However, it was no wonder that he would be angry. After listening to his story, even she was filled with anger. The combination of a liar and a fool, if it happened to others would be a joke, but if it happened to her, it would be a tragedy. Therefore for now she would just take one step at a time. If he really did something outrageous, she would just knock him out with a punch and directly carry him back to the Spirit Sword Mountain. Chapter 87. Early the next morning, the three of them arrived at Marquis County. Marquis County was an insignificant small county in the Great Ming Country's eastern prefecture, but it had a population of more than 10,000 people. Moreover, a long time ago Marquis County was the battlefield where the Wanxian League fought against the wild beast. Because of this, the surrounding spiritual energy became turbid and chaotic. In such a place, trying to find Wei Wenqing's contact person was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Fortunately, there was always a way out. Wang Lu soon found the way. Do you know where the Seven-Star Sect's immortal teacher is? On the commercial street of Marquis County, Wang Lu stopped a local vagrant, gave him a few silver coins and got a satisfactory answer. The Seven-Star Sect's immortal teacher is in the county master's house. He's the county master's VIP. Just like that, the answer was revealed. It was far smoother than expected. After sending the vagrant away, Wang Lu nodded with satisfaction. Not bad, it seems like the people of Marquis County do have some knowledge. The lady boss asked, what do you mean? Didn't you notice? He's also a 4-star's emissary. In the Wang family village he's called a Taoist immortal, but here he's just an immortal teacher. Moreover, he's only the county master's VIP. Obviously, cultivators are not rare here. At least, people have this knowledge. The lady boss nodded. This place used to be an ancient battlefield, so there should be a lot of cultivator legends passed down. Therefore, the local people are not unfamiliar with the immortal cultivation world. So, what are you going to do next? Do you want to directly go to his door and interrogate him? Wang Lu was surprised. How could you have such a stupid idea? Right now, you don't even know his name and whether he has other companions or not. You only know that he's a 4-star's emissary. If you just rush forward like this, you'll be wiped out. You're simply a man of courage but no strategy. I really don't want to be judged as a man of courage but no strategy by a fool like you. Although she said that, the lady boss respected Wang Lu's opinion. Because the current Wang Lu was obviously a professional adventurer. His eyes were clear and his mind was calm. After leaving the Wang family village, his mood gradually eased, and his way of thinking also returned to his usual rhythm in Spirit Sword Mountain. This kind of Wang Lu was trustworthy. In other words, we have to test the waters first? That's right. It's rare that the enemy is out in the open while we're in the dark. It would be a waste if we don't take this opportunity to probe them. Wen Bao, we need you to make an appearance now. Wen Bao, who had just bought 2 steamed pancakes from a roadside vendor, was stunned. Meh. That's right. Go to him directly and say that you're a wandering cultivator who is passing by this place and intends to stay for a period of time. Greet the local master and then take the opportunity to investigate him. Wen Bao only felt that the flatbread in his mouth was a little hard and astringent, and it was difficult for him to swallow. Senior Marshal Brother, isn't this mission a little too difficult? F***ck, You're an inner disciple of one of the 5 uniques of the Wanxian League. What's so difficult about dealing with a few lowly people? Now that my identity has been exposed, I can't casually show myself. Sister Ling has no cultivation, so she can't pretend to be a cultivator. Who else can do this besides you? Wen Bao was still hesitating when Wang Lu took out his trump card. Junior sister Yu Shi, okay senior martial brother, I got it. I'll go now. He swallowed the 2 steamed pancakes in one gulp. With the spirit of facing death calmly, the fatty raised his sword and rushed to the county magistrate's yard. Stop, who are you? How dare you? Before the 2 burly men guarding the courtyard could finish their reprimanding words, they had no choice but to swallow the rest of their words. The fat man in front of them was not tall but had a very large body. There was a wisp of flame burning on his fingertip. The color changed from red to green and then from green to white. Although it was just an acrobatic skill, it fully showed his identity. An immortal cultivator. Marquis County was not like the Wang family village, a remote village that had never seen the world. Hundreds of years ago, this place was one of the battlefields where the Wanxian League fought against the tide of wild beasts. Immortal cultivators were not too rare, and occasionally, there would even be perfected cultivators passing by. But, cultivators were cultivators after all. They were not people these 2 lackeys could offend. Excuse me, why are you looking for my family's master? The fatty put away the magical ability on his fingertip. Inwardly he couldn't help but feel proud. Even though for a spirit sword sex cultivator, this little trick was simply insignificant, and even for him who specialized in one sword to break 10,000 methods and walked the path of a sword cultivator, his other spells were a complete mess. However, in the mortal world this trick could still be used to bluff people. More importantly, he knew that senior martial brother Wang Lu would never be able to use this trick, because Wang Lu was even more extreme than him. Wang Lu had already reached the 7th level of Qi cultivating stage, but he didn't even know a single immortal spells. I'm not looking for your family's master. I'm looking for the 7 stars sect's immortal cultivator. The fatty tried to make his voice as deep and powerful as possible, in order to play the demeanor of an expert. According to his senior brother, the 7 star sect's cultivators here were at most high-level Qi cultivating stage. Even though they were much higher than him, if they were to fight in close combat, his black iron heavy sword would be able to split them into 2 halves. There was nothing to be afraid of. The 2 guarding martial artists looked at each other and then the one on the right nodded. Please come with me. Right now, there was only one 7-star sect's cultivator living in the county magistrate's courtyard, as well as a number of handymen and servants. That martial artist carefully led Wen Bao all the way to the main room. However, before they reached the door, they heard a voice coming from inside. Yuan-san, didn't I tell you not to bother me if there's nothing important? That martial artist named Yuan-san immediately broke into a cold sweat and knelt down. Reporting to Immortal Master, there's an Immortal Master passing by here. He said he's looking for you, so, oh? Immortal Master passing by? Bring him in. Yuan-san quickly stood up. He didn't dare to look at Wen Bao, who was behind him, as he tremblingly walked forward. When he reached the door, he lowered his head and didn't dare to move. Wen Bao's face sank and his heart was slightly uneasy. Just now, that person's voice seemed to have a special power that could shake people's mind. This was strange. How could a low-level Qi cultivating stage cultivator have this kind of ability? However, he had already walked to the door, but the opposite party still couldn't clearly see his existence. It seemed like the opposite party didn't have a profound cultivation. With a trace of nervousness, Wen Bao entered the room. Then he was blinded. Inside the room, there was indeed that 7-star sex cultivator. His hair and beard were grizzled and he looked a bit older than expected. However, there were also 3 to 5 young women, dressed in simple clothes, and some of them were even naked. They clustered around that cultivator's side. They were panting and their eyes were watery. That cultivator's pair of palms continued to wander around that warm jade-soft body, setting off pieces of spring scenery. What was even more surprising was that there was an enchanting and charming woman who was sitting on that cultivator's body. Their lower body was tightly joined together, and when they moved they made a sound that could make people blush. Unexpectedly, they didn't even try to avoid other people. This pink scene immediately made the fatty's face flushed, and the little bit of momentum that he managed to muster up with great difficulty disappeared like running water. He believed that even if senior brother Wang Lu was here, he would also be blinded by this scene. What the hell was this 7-star sex cultivator doing? What the hell was he doing in broad daylight? Oh, sorry for making a fool of myself. That cultivator chuckled, pushed away the woman who was entangled with him, and then waved his hand to signal them to leave. Then he slowly put on his clothes and asked with interest, "Fellow Taoist, why are you looking for me?" Wen Bao sorted out his thoughts, cleared his throat, and was about to open his mouth when he was suddenly stunned. Because he clearly saw that on that 7-star sect's robe, there were 6 neatly embroidered stars. 6 stars elder? Where's the promised 4 stars emissary? Where's the promise that I can split a mere high-level chi cultivating stage cultivator in half with my sword? Isn't a 6 stars emissary an expert in the foundation establishment stage? Moreover, it's very likely that he's a middle-level foundation establishment stage cultivator. Not to mention me, even if it's senior brother Wang Lu, I'm afraid you don't have 100% chance of winning, right? What the hell is this? Cold sweat immediately seeped out of his forehead. However, Wen Bao, after all, had received more than 2 years of formal education in the Spirit Sword Mountain. Suppressing his throbbing heart, he earnestly saluted that person. I'm Wen Bao, a loose cultivator who just passed by this place. Because of my cultivation needs, I plan to stay here for a while. I heard that the 7-star sect's immortal teacher lives here, so I came to pay a visit to avoid any misunderstanding. Oh, that 7-star sect's elder lazily responded with a sound, and then sized up the fatty in front of him. Before long he waved his hand. I understand you're called Wen Bao, right? At such a young age it's not easy for you to reach the low-level chi cultivating stage, so you shouldn't be an ordinary loose cultivator. But it doesn't matter, our 7-star sect has a wide range of friends. As long as you don't stir up trouble, you can stay here as long as you want. Of course there are some rules that must be obeyed. I hope we can get along well. With that he moved his hand. Wen Bao felt his vision blurred, and then a piece of yellow paper appeared in his hand. On it there were some simple rules that he was not unfamiliar with. First of all, it was an overview of the principles. For example, the host and the guest must respect each other. When encountering a dispute, they should mainly mediate and avoid fighting as much as possible. Then, it was a general convention to deal with some difficult miscellaneous diseases. For example, if a treasure was found in the local area, the guest must not hide it without authorization, and must inform the host. At the same time, the host has the priority to purchase the treasure. If the guest has a special demand for the treasure, the guest must pay a certain price and compete with the host for the treasure. These were the rules that were established after the establishment of the Wanxian League to mediate the disputes between the sections. Now, after a long period of development, it has been further refined and perfected into a very complex knowledge. However, in practice, it was often defeated by the rule that the fist is the truth. He didn't know where this 7-star sect copied this set of rules, but it was actually quite decent. Wen Bao roughly skimmed through it, and after promising to seriously abide by it, he observed the other party's reaction. That cultivator seemed to be impatient and didn't doubt his identity. It seemed like he was being overly suspicious. A cultivator from a mere 9th-rate sect couldn't possibly have such a high level of cultivation that could see through his background. If it was a foundation establishment disciple from Shengjing sect, perhaps with a glance, they would be able to tell that he was a Spirit Sword sect disciple. Realizing that he had passed this hurdle, Wen Bao breathed a sigh of relief and then cautiously retreated. Before he left, that 7-star sect elder impatiently called back the girls with a lascivious smile. Before long, the fatty trotted all the way back to the previously agreed place. Then in a few words Wang Lu and little Ling Er, who had been waiting for him for a long time, were shocked. Senior brother, you're wrong. In this county there's more than one 7-stars cultivator. Moreover, it's not a 4-stars emissary but a 6-stars elder. What the hell? What kind of god is this? After drinking cold water and eating cooked meat, the fatty finally calmed down and began to talk about his experience in detail. As a result, Wang Lu and little Ling Er looked at each other in dismay. They both felt that this matter was really ket up. From 4 stars to 6 stars, is there a need to be so exaggerated? For a time even the lady boss, the nemesis of cultivators, felt that this matter was tricky. Because once a cultivator entered the foundation establishment stage, their magical power would circulate inside and outside of their body. Their physical strength would be greatly improved, and their ability to survive would skyrocket. Relying solely on the mortal world's martial artists was somewhat insufficient. Even if they could protect themselves, it would be extremely difficult for them to win. Wang Lu also clicked his tongue. It's only been a few days but his star rank has already skyrocketed. Could it be that this guy is also a rebel? What? Nothing. In short, this is important information. Fortunately, I have the foresight to let Wen Bao explore the actual situation. Otherwise, if I rashly rushed over, the consequences would be hard to predict. The lady boss helplessly sighed. Even at this time you still can't forget your narcissism? Wenbao, tell me in detail what happened just now. Don't miss any detail. Wang Lu of course has the capital to be narcissistic. Because his eyes have already lit up, he excitedly activated his professional adventurer mode. Seeing this, the lady boss didn't want to disturb him, so she quietly waited on the side. When Bao's emotions calmed down, the second time he narrated, it was a lot more organized. He even described in detail the scenery he saw along the way from the courtyard door to the main room. Although Fatty's aptitude was slow, after 2 years of cultivation, his body had been cleansed by spiritual energy, and he had just started to cultivate his mind. Although his IQ might not have improved much, his mind was clear and his hearing and eyes were much sharper. Realizing the importance of this matter, when Bao didn't dare to conceal anything. He even described the scene of the cultivator elder's lewd behavior during the day, causing the lady boss to retreat a few steps without batting an eyelid. The narration took a little longer and Wang Lu didn't interrupt the whole time. Only when Bao finished did he softly say, "Tell me in detail what happened just now." When Bao was dumbfounded. The lady boss couldn't help but scold, "Are you in heat? Do you want to hear that kind of disgusting thing again?" Wang Lu frowned. "Your thoughts are really dirty. No wonder you're a 30-year-old virgin." Before he could finish, he was sent flying by a friendly face-breaking punch. Chapter 88. Wang Lu stood up, shook his head and said to Wen Bao, "Tell me the details again, there is important information in it." Hearing this, the lady boss was stunned, then snorted, knowing that she might have misunderstood him, so she didn't stop him. Wen Bao had no choice but to be patient and repeat the scene of that ****** again. Wang Lu clicked his tongue, "This Shui Baimao really knows how to play." Then according to your memory, when the cultivator was having sex in the hall, except for the woman sitting on him, the other women were only bare-chested. Were there any signs of sexual intercourse on them? When Bao was stunned, let me think carefully. After a while, he shook his head, I don't think so. If that's the case, then I think the problem of 4 stars becoming 6 stars can be explained. The lady boss was curious, how do you explain it? The pawn on the dog-ear mountain didn't lie to us, his contact was indeed a 4 stars emissary, and a 4 stars can't become 6 stars overnight, so. The truth is, the 6 stars the fatty saw was another person. The lady boss's eyes widened, another person? Then what about the original 4 stars? Wang Lu laughed, isn't it hanging on the body of the original 4 stars? Hanging? The lady boss was stunned, then her cheeks flushed and she spat. You mean those 2 people, probably dual cultivation companions or something like that, don't lowly sex like to do this kind of dishonest things? Not to mention other things, the increase of magical power in cultivation is usually very significant, although the side effects are also great, why would they care so much? The lady boss nodded, then frowned, if it's dual cultivation, then what are the other women doing? Wang Lu asked, when you sing don't you have a few dancers behind you? Just to liven things up? TSK how desolate. The lady boss clenched her teeth, quite dissatisfied. After the dual cultivation it's the real time of debauchery, but it's not bad, at least they didn't openly rob women on the street, hiding in their own homes and playing tricks, it has nothing to do with others. But this is indeed an important detail. Thinking about it carefully, in fact our current situation is not advantageous. The opponent has changed from a 4 stars emissary to a 4 stars emissary and a 6 stars cultivator. Moreover, they are cultivators who have become dual cultivation companions. When the 2 of them are together, they may be able to display the special effect of love is stronger than gold, but my most powerful weapon is still in the Wang family village. Overall, the advantage of a head-on confrontation is not big. The lady boss agreed with his judgment. And then? But we still have a huge advantage, the enemy is in the light while we are in the dark. As long as we make full use of this, we might be able to solve the problem more smoothly than expected. You want to launch a sneak attack? I'm afraid it won't be that easy. Since the 2 of them are obsessed with dual cultivation, I'm afraid they won't go out easily. How did you plot against them? Due to her good moral standards, the lady boss was not opposed to sneak attacks and plots, but she raised a specific problem. In this regard, Wang Lu also had a plan. It's very simple. If they don't come out, then we'll go in. The lady boss couldn't help but laugh. They've been living in the side courtyard for a long time. You and Wen Bao are both sword cultivators who aren't good at magic. How are you going to sneak in? Why would I need to sneak in? We can totally go in openly. Are you crazy? What kind of sneak attack is it if we go in openly? Wang Lu couldn't help but sigh. No wonder your shabby inn is about to close down. As a boss, your IQ is really worrying. Damn, my inn's daily turnover is still over 10,000. It's still a long way from closing down. In another 100 years, the daily turnover will only be over 100. Do you have a problem with a century-old inn? Alright, what should we do? You're a highly intelligent professional adventurer. Just tell us your conclusion. Wang Lu nodded. Actually, the method is obvious. That 6 stars elder is definitely a lecherous person. If I don't take advantage of such a big weakness, my professional adventurer spirit will cry. Take advantage of his lecherousness? The lady boss still didn't quite understand, but she had a vague bad feeling. When she found that Wang Lu and Wen Bao were very serious and focused, and they were staring at her with great expectation, she finally understood Wang Lu's plan. She immediately said angrily, "Don't even think about it." "Ah, Sister Ling, there's no need to be shy. You're the nemesis of cultivators. When the opponent is caught off guard, even a nascent soul stage old monster would be beaten senseless by you, let alone a foundation building stage trash. You're the best candidate for a sneak attack." Hee. The lady boss sneered. "Sister Ling, you're as beautiful as a flower. No, you're absolutely gorgeous. Once you show up, you'll probably make that old pervert fall head over heels for you and give up without a fight. If you don't show up, who will? Hee, you have good taste." Wait. The lady boss's relaxed expression immediately turned serious. Which idiot said I'm rude, barbaric, and unfeminine not long ago? Wang Lu's expression didn't change. He turned to Wen Bao and asked, "Was it you?" Wen Bao almost pissed his pants. "What does it have to do with me?" Wang Lu regretfully shook his head. "Sister Ling, it seems like it's hard to catch that rude person who blasphemed your celestial appearance. I have to ask you to temporarily put aside your minor conflict and display the advantage of being a gorgeous beauty. Go," Sister Ling sneered. "Go seduce that old pervert?" "Wang Lu, you really have the nerve to make such a request." Upon hearing this, Wang Lu was startled. Indeed, although Sister Ling looked like a low-class person, she was, after all, the daughter of the sect leader, a proper second generation. Letting her come forward to do this kind of shady business was indeed a bit exciting, huh? "Sister Ling, I know you have some resistance towards this matter in your heart. Women are always a little reserved. It's not rare, but the world has changed. Being reserved is not worth much. Women can only pursue happiness if they are open-minded. Other women can let go of their hands and feet, but you can't open the tweezers. Then the opportunity and happiness will belong to someone else, leaving you with only leftovers. Think about it." Before he finished, he was coldly interrupted by little Ling Er. "This is the plot of a pimp tricking a good woman, right?" Wang Lu was silent for a while. "I'm sorry I recited it wrong. Do you want to change it? Change your head. I'm telling you, don't even think about that dirty trick of yours." Being so resolute, Wang Lu was startled for a while. Then he began to sneer. "Sister Ling, to put it bluntly, you have no confidence in yourself, right? Ha, don't try to provoke me. I admit, if you look at it purely from the outside as a woman, you are definitely 100% beauty." The lady boss slightly raised her head, trying hard to suppress her complacent expression. However, Wang Lu's next words made her instantly burn with anger. "However, a woman's beauty is not only determined by her appearance, but more importantly, her temperament. This is equivalent to a warrior's internal energy and true qi, or a cultivator's immortal heart. It's not that I want to criticize you, Sister Ling, but as a woman, your temperament is really bad." Hee. To be honest, if it weren't for the fact that I didn't have any other candidates, I also wouldn't want you to take the risk. The probability of failure is really too high, and it might even bring you a serious psychological shadow. Alas, there's no other way. Later, I'll go with Fatty to a brothel and spend some money to find a few cheap prostitutes. The lady boss was about to go crazy from anger. "Are you saying that I'm not as good as a few cheap prostitutes?" Wang Lu promptly shook his head. "How could I dare? It's just that, this industry has its own specialization. In terms of femininity, Sister Ling, you're really enough." Little Ling Er suddenly roared. Her true chi burst forth, shaking the dust on both sides of the alley. Seeing little Ling Er's demoralizing roar, Wang Lu was also taken aback. What the f***ck? Sister Ling's lower limit has always been unfathomable, but this time she actually went too far? He and Wen Bao looked at each other and felt that things were a bit tricky. If they really pissed off this grandaunt, she would run back to the Spirit Creek town alone. Then, the two of them would definitely not be able to deal with the 7-star sex Shudan stage cultivators. Let alone a Shudan stage cultivator, they couldn't even do anything to this 4-star and 6-star combination. A flash of inspiration appeared in Wen Bao's mind. He hurriedly blinked at his senior brother and then tried to use their tacit understanding to tell the other party that he had just thought of a brilliant plan. Kneel and lick, senior brother, quickly kneel and lick. To deal with Sister Ling, this move had always been successful. However, since Wen Bao could think of it, how could Wang Lu not think of it? While he was secretly sneering and preparing to say, "Master above," he heard Sister Ling's sneer. "In the end, Wang Lu, you're just trying to goad me into action. Don't really take me as a fool." Wang Lu said with a smile, "Sister Ling, you're wise and mighty, who would dare to take you as a fool?" Little Ling Er ignored this insincere flattery. "But I can see that what you just said is from your heart." "Ha, I can't believe that in your heart, I have such an image." The lady boss's smile became colder and colder. Although things seemed to be going on the expected track, Wang Lu couldn't stand it anymore. Little Ling Er, that, don't do this, don't do that. Being provoked to this point, whether it's goading or not, I have no reason not to stand up and fight. Upon hearing this, Wang Lu was surprised for a moment, and then his face lit up. Oh, Sister Ling, you're really a righteous person, a role model for our generation." Little Ling Er continued to sneer. "Don't be so excited. Things are not that simple. There's no reason for me to sell my body just because you said something, right? Is there such a cheap thing?" Sister Ling, are you going to charge me?" "Damn, if I charge you, then what would I become? I want to make a bet with you. If I succeed, then it means that your so-called femininity is pure nonsense." Wang Lu hurriedly said, "It's nonsense from the beginning, Sister Ling, don't take it seriously." "Then I want you to apologize." "I'll apologize to you right now." What's the use of this insincere apology?" "Then what do you want me to do?" "I haven't thought about it yet, so I'll owe you for now." Speaking up to here, the lady boss raised her head and looked at Wang Lu. Her eyes wandered and she revealed a meaningful smile. "However, don't think that you can easily fool me when the time comes." Being stared at by those smiling yet not smiling eyes, for no reason, Wang Lu suddenly felt his heart skip a beat. But he quickly reacted and loudly praised. Don't worry, Sister Ling's great kindness and peerless beauty will be engraved in my heart. I'll think of you every night when I sleep." "TSK, be careful." "I won't, as long as I think of Sister Ling, I'll naturally be full of vigor." "Damn, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. How do I sneak in next?" "Do you have a plan? Then do I need to seriously dress up?" Wang Lu's spirit shook and he hurriedly said, "I already have a plan, you don't need to spend too much effort on dressing up. Sister Ling, your beauty is like a lotus flower in clear water, naturally sculpted. Bare face is perfect, bare face is perfect." "Yeah, actually, I think so too." Chapter 89. In any case, with little Ling Er's strong support, the following development would be very smooth. The general idea of the plan was very simple. It was to take advantage of the 6-star's elder's lecherous nature and find a way to let little Ling Er approach him, then subdue him at close range. With her special ability to eliminate all immortal energy, she would be able to injure someone at close range. Ordinary cultivators wouldn't be able to react in time, and as long as little Ling Er could personally control that elder, he wouldn't be able to use his abilities no matter how great they were. As for the other 4 stars, let her do whatever she wants. The only problem was how to push the beautiful lady boss in front of that 6-star's lecherous old man. This is actually very simple. When the fatty went in just now, didn't he see a few girls accompanying them? Sister Ling, just go in the same way they went in. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be very easy. What do you mean? Wang Lu explained. From the fatty's description, those women shouldn't have been coerced, but rather willingly offered themselves to him. With the ability of a foundation establishment cultivator, although they can charm people's hearts, they will leave obvious traces, and the fatty should be able to see through it. Moreover, I think that since they are living so comfortably in Marquis County, they should be acting within the rules and have reached a certain tacit understanding with the county magistrate and the others. The lady boss nodded, and then? But from the details we can also see that some of them are skilled in this field, and are obviously professionals in this field. They should be prostitutes in the county. There are also some who seem unskilled, and should be ordinary people who occasionally come out to make money. With this elder's temperament and status, at least compared to mortals, he should be extremely wealthy. And then? However, the appearance of ordinary people means at least one problem. This small county with only 10,000 people doesn't have enough population to give birth to too many beauties, not to mention that not all beauties are willing to be sold. That 6 stars elder shouldn't have stayed here for a long time, so he should still be able to gather enough beauties for his lewd pleasure. However, I think his reserve should be stretched thin, and a lecherous person like him will get tired of the old very quickly. The quality of the current group of people isn't particularly high, so it's impossible for him to not get tired of playing with them. After a while, won't he suffer from not having enough women to play with? The lady boss curled her lips in disgust. Disgusting. Wang Lu shrugged. This is a necessary characteristic for the continuation of the human race. You have to look at this problem from the perspective of the entire human race. The lady boss only raised her middle finger high up in the air. In short, I think that cultivator should be looking for a new woman. At this time, as long as you appear in his sight in a safe, harmless, and reasonable manner, it will be natural to send you to that elder. What do you mean by safe, harmless, and reasonable posture? Wang Lu thought for a moment, then whispered to the lady boss, "That's it." After a while, after listening to Wang Lu's plan, the lady boss sighed, "I feel like you're deliberately messing with me. In all honesty, I have no such intentions. Although this move is a bit vulgar, it is undeniable that the more vulgar a move is, the more effective it is. Moreover, in a remote county like Marquis County, it might be easier to win people's trust. Moreover, even if it doesn't win people's trust, so what? As long as you reveal your stunning beauty, even if there are some suspicious points about your identity, they will all be covered up." "Alright, then I'll do as you say and act once. But I'll say it again." Wang Lu continued, "I understand, I owe you a huge favor. If it's good that you remember." Without further ado, that evening, the 3 of them began to move. To be precise, there were only 2 people who participated in the operation. One was the lady boss, the other was Wen Bao. As for Wang Lu, as the director, he watched the entire process. The specific performance was as follows. Setting: Marquis County's commercial street. Characters: Lady Boss, Wen Bao. The lady boss and Wen Bao walked side by side. The 2 of them were travel-worn, their clothes were tattered, and they looked down and out. Wen Bao's figure was stooped, his steps were unsteady, and he coughed from time to time, as if he was suffering from a serious illness. The lady boss: "Xiao Bao, how are you?" Wen Bao: "Sis, I'm fine, don't worry about me." "How can I not care about you? Your illness? The doctor said that as long as you take medicine on time, you will definitely be cured. Our village is lacking in resources, so we brought you to the county. Just now the medicine shop has all the ingredients, there will be no problem. But sis, although there is medicine in the medicine shop, they don't give it for free. Sai, if it wasn't for father squandering the family's farmland, how would we have money to buy medicine? Sis, don't lie to me, my illness. The medicine I need is too precious. Even if we have all our farmland, we can't gather enough medicine for the entire course of treatment. So sis, don't worry about me. Don't worry, since I brought you here, I have a way to earn money to buy medicine for your illness." "Earn money? Sis, how can you earn money?" "Sis can embroider, knit, and cook. In such a big county, I can always find a way to earn money." "But, no buts," Uncle Wang from the east side of the village said that the handkerchiefs I embroider can sell for a lot of money in the county. Anyway, don't worry. Scene 2. Entrance of the county magistrate's courtyard. Character: Lady Boss Sai. Xiaobao and I have depended on each other for many years. I can't watch him die of illness even if I can definitely earn money. Then, with great determination, the girl strode to the entrance and asked the 2 burly martial artists guarding the courtyard. The lady boss clasped her hands in front of her chest, mustered up her courage, but still stuttered. Excuse me, is there a shortage of manpower in your mansion?" One of the martial artists didn't even look at her and waved his hand. Go away, if you want food, go elsewhere." However, the other sharp-eyed one glanced at the girl's face and his eyes lit up. He quickly patted his companion. Hey, look carefully." The other person curiously turned his head. After a moment, he understood and said to the girl, "Wait, I'll go find the housekeeper to talk to you." Not long after, a person who looked like a housekeeper came out of the courtyard, looked at the girl up and down, and nodded with satisfaction. "Come in with me, let's talk in detail." The girl, with a bit of fear and nervousness, followed the housekeeper into the courtyard. There were many rooms in the courtyard. The housekeeper took the girl into a remote room, ordered the servants to pour tea, and asked eagerly, "Miss, are you here to find a job?" The girl quickly said, Yes. I can do anything. I can even cook and wash. It's just that I need a sum of money right now. The amount may be relatively large, so." Don't worry, speak slowly. The housekeeper was not in a hurry, his voice was amiable. Do you have any difficulties? The girl's eyes turned red. Yes, my brother, in the time it took to eat a meal, the housekeeper understood the story of the deep love between a sister and a brother and nodded. At this time, an agile servant walked in from outside and whispered something in the housekeeper's ear. The housekeeper's expression became even more satisfied. After sending the servant away, he said to the girl, I have a general understanding of your situation. To be honest, you said that you and your brother came from a remote mountain village. But right now there is no evidence to prove your identity. According to the rules of our house, we can't take in people of unknown origins. The girl immediately became anxious. But, listen to me finish. Although it is somewhat inconsistent with the house's rules, I sympathize with your experience, and I also admire your selfless dedication to your brother. Everything can be made an exception, isn't that right? The girl was ecstatic. Thank you for your great kindness. Don't be in a hurry to thank me. I know you are in urgent need of money, but right now, the house is not lacking in handymen, and with just the salary of a servant, I'm afraid it won't be able to meet your needs. The girl was stunned. Then what should I do? Actually, the house has another errand. Currently, we are in urgent need of manpower. The salary is very generous, and your conditions are completely met. What is it? The housekeeper looked at the girl with interest. You said, in order to cure your brother's illness, I can do anything? Yes, I only have this one brother. For him, I can do anything. Ah, that's good. The matter is like this. After explaining in a soft voice, the housekeeper saw the girl's lifeless expression as expected. However, it was better to be lifeless. The more inexperienced a fledgling like this, the higher the value. Although right now, she looked covered in dust and was not very eye-catching. How could the housekeeper not see that this girl was of the highest quality? If she tidied up a bit more, she would be far better than the few women in the house who served the immortal master. After an unknown amount of time, the girl fiercely clenched her teeth. As long as I can get the money, I can do anything. Ah, good, with these words of yours I can rest assured. As for the money, I can give it to you now. We can sign the contract later. However, this matter is not something I can decide. In the end, it still has to be decided by master. After a while, you and the maids go to the back to wash up, change into a decent set of clothes, and leave a good impression on master in the future. Hey, the benefits will be endless. After saying that, the housekeeper also put down his previous serious face and reached out to touch the girl's cheek. In the end, the girl seemed to intentionally or unintentionally lower her head, suddenly bowing, and just happened to avoid the housekeeper's hand. Thank you for your great kindness. The housekeeper was stunned for a moment, then shook his head. Okay, you can leave. Half an hour later, the young girl walked out of the bathroom under the service of several servants. She was wearing an exquisite and elegant long dress. Coupled with the dense water vapor from the bath, the young girl's delicate and pretty features were perfectly set off. She was really like a lotus flower that had just emerged from the water. An older maid in charge of serving her said with jealousy, Look, this girl is like someone from the heavens. Hey, in the future you will definitely be deeply loved by the immortal master. The housekeeper was obviously a bit envious, but he still managed to control himself. Come, the immortal master is waiting for you in the room. The girl showed the nervousness she should have. Immortal master, now? Oh, isn't it now? This kind of good thing, it's better to hurry. Then, like a bride before marriage, the girl followed behind the housekeeper, her face red and body stiff, to the room where the immortal master was. On the road, little Ling Er's heart was slightly complicated. So far, the progress of the matter was exactly the same as Wang Lu expected. Although there were actually a lot of flaws, but, in the face of enough urgent needs, all the flaws could be deliberately ignored. When that guy was a professional adventurer, he was really somewhat reliable. The unreliable one was me. Damn, what am I doing? I didn't open the Ru family inn, which had a daily turnover of over 10,000, and ran to this wilderness to put on a show of selling myself to save my younger brother. Moreover, I actually have to stroke my hair in front of a vulgar lecher. How bewitched am I that I agreed to Wang Lu's shameless request? Is it really because there are a few days every month? Alas, forget it. In any case, I'll beat that lecher until his stick is bent and barely vent my anger. After this matter is over, I'll go beat up Wang Lu and continue to vent my anger. Moreover, to be honest, being praised by the people around me for my beauty is also very refreshing. When I was in the Spirit Sword Mountain, those stupid disciples didn't have this kind of eyesight. I'll let that country bumpkin cultivator open his eyes and see what is called a real fairy descending to the world. With a woman's pride, little Ling Er finally entered the main room where that lecher was. Fortunately, that guy was neatly dressed and was sipping tea. He didn't do that unsightly thing. When that 6 stars elder saw little Ling Er, his eyes swept over her face and suddenly revealed an incomparably stunned expression. Little Ling Er caught a glimpse of him and inwardly felt proud. Ha, he really took the bait. My family's charm is irresistible. Some scoundrel, wait for me to come back and deal with you. As for this lecher old man? Seeing that you have some sense of beauty, I won't beat you up too badly later. At this time, that lecher old man, with a look of admiration and amazement, moved his eyes away from little Ling Er's delicate and elegant face and reluctantly moved downwards. Along her slender and smooth neck, he saw the sexy and exquisite collarbone. After a moment of nostalgia, he then moved downwards and found a piece of white skin. Her skin was like the finest white jade, sparkling and translucent, and it caused one's gaze to be attracted to her. Suddenly the old cultivator's mind was in a daze. It was as if he had returned to decades ago when he was doing experiential learning in the Blue River region. He was fortunate enough to see a famous scenic spot, White Jade Plain. That boundless wilderness was paved with white jade, dazzling anyone who saw it. White Jade Plain? The dirty old man frowned, stretched out his hand to pinch the bridge of his nose, and then opened his eyes again. A moment later, his anger filled the air. You bunch of idiots, where did you find such a dried-up little girl? No breasts, no buttocks, what's the use of having a beautiful face? How many times have I told you I want big breasts and big buttocks? This kind of manly girl, quickly drive her back, don't bring this kind of trash here in the future. Boom. Little Ling Er only felt as if she was struck by lightning, and her vision turned black. Then she didn't know anything. Chapter 90. When little Ling Er regained her consciousness, she discovered that she was already standing outside the courtyard wall. She was still wearing that exquisite long dress, and the steam from her bath hadn't completely dissipated. Only, with her back against the setting sun, the slender figure that was cast in front of her eyes seemed so lonely and sorrowful. After gawking for a moment, little Ling Er's dull mind gradually began to ferment with emotion. The corner of the girl's mouth hung a trace of a strange smile, and then she strode toward a certain direction in the county. At the same time, Wang Lu and Wen Bao were squatting in a remote alley, each holding a piece of cooked meat and a piece of cooked meat, gorging themselves. Senior brother Wang Lu, do you think Sister Ling, she really has no problem? Wang Lu swallowed the meat in his mouth and said with a smile, rest assured, women are natural actors. Didn't a runner come to confirm your identity just now? Obviously, she has already infiltrated the enemy's inner circle, and soon she will be able to make a contribution. It's just that I always feel that Sister Ling seems to have paid a big sacrifice. What's there to sacrifice? She won't be taken advantage of. On the contrary, she will be surrounded by the stars and regarded as a fairy descending to the world. That guy's heart must be in a mess. You know, in the Spirit Sword Mountain, no one has ever praised her as beautiful as a flower, right? Wen Bao thought for a moment. That's true. What? Actually, Sister Ling is indeed very beautiful. Wang Lu sneered. What's the use of being beautiful? With her temperament, it's hard for people to see her as a woman. Just like my master, objectively speaking, she's also a beauty, right? Let alone a woman, do you think she's a human being? That's true. Am I right? However, as long as little Ling Er is willing to act, fooling a mountain hooligan is not a problem. You have to say. Wang Lu frowned. Her figure is a bit thin, but these days there are too many perverted lolicons. Maybe that lecher will take a liking to her. Flat breasts are scarce, ha. Although Wen Bao didn't quite understand, seeing his senior brother laughing happily, he also laughed foolishly. However, halfway through his laughter he abruptly stopped. At the entrance of the alley, a girl's back was against the setting sun. Her slender shadow was cast, which happened to block his field of vision. It was as if night had fallen. Wang Lu raised his head and saw the girl. He was about to welcome her back with a smile, but in the next moment, Wang Lu, I'm going to kill you. The young woman gave off a shocking aura as she stepped forwards like lightning and heavily punched Wang Lu's face. Bang! The youth flew out like a cannonball, and with a loud bang he was imprinted on a wall. Turning strength to hit someone like a painting, what a freehand painting. I see. I didn't expect things to change like this. With heavy dark circles under his eyes, Wang Lu made a pained expression and sighed. Just now, little Ling Er was filled with humiliation as she recounted her experiences in the courtyard. Of course, Wen Bao had already been driven far away, so she had a private conversation with Wang Lu. This kind of life of humiliation, if one more person knew, it would be one more person to silence. Hearing this shocking change, Wang Lu was also dumbfounded. No matter how much of a professional adventurer he was, he didn't expect things to change so dramatically. That dirty old man was not only obscene, but also perverted. Tasteless. He actually dared to discriminate against flat-chested people. You're rebelling. Wang Lu sighed. Sister Ling, I really wronged you. Originally, he wanted to try to comfort the girl whose mind was seriously injured, but he couldn't help but laugh. Of course, the result was that he was once again hung on the wall by Sister Ling. If you laugh again, I'll beat you until you, the culprit, can't remember anything. Wang Lu touched the other dark circle under his eyes and said with great difficulty, I won't laugh, I won't laugh. I've already deeply realized my mistake. When I go back, I'll certainly give you a sincere compensation. Little Ling Er gnashed her teeth. Who wants your compensation? How can you compensate? Wang Lu thought for a moment. Actually, I know a few folk prescriptions that can help with breast enlargement. Sister Ling, you, bang? Coming down from the wall for the third time, Wang Lu helplessly sighed. Sister Ling, are you going to practice the magic brush Maoliang divine technique? No matter what, I won't really become a two-dimensional being. Little Ling Er was also somewhat tongue-tied. Because, to be precise, Wang Lu just couldn't calculate it. He didn't have the intention to harm her. But the resentment in her heart was hard to quell, so what should she do? Wang Lu's complexion sank. Of course, every debt has a debtor. We have to find the real culprit for revenge. Little Ling Er's interest waned. How? Our infiltration plan failed. Wang Lu was also somewhat embarrassed. Yes, I didn't expect that guy to be so perverted and shallow. He completely doesn't have a normal aesthetic sense. If we don't take this path, it will indeed be difficult to enter the mansion. Wen Bao and I are not good at stealth and transformation cultivators. Little Ling Er snorted. If it doesn't work, then let's just go straight ahead. I'm tired of going around in circles like this. Wang Lu said you're upset because I'm afraid there's another reason? When I asked you to sell your body at the beginning, weren't you also very happy? But if they really had to fight face to face, Wang Lu was still somewhat hesitant. With their current lineup, they could win against a 6-star cultivator and a 4-star cultivator, but it would be difficult to catch them. And if they couldn't catch them, this attack would be tantamount to alerting the enemy. Later, it would be difficult to find the headquarters and catch the sect leader. Moreover, this time, it was very likely that the other party would retaliate, complicating the situation. If possible, it would be best to launch a sneak attack because up until now, the biggest advantage they had was that the enemy was in the light while they were in the dark. Therefore, the problem returned to the original point. How should they sneak into the mansion and catch those two adulterers? The honey trap was the most effective, but unfortunately, the lady boss's appearance was good, but her figure was not good. Apart from the lady boss, where else could they find someone who was good-looking and strong enough to subdue a foundation-building cultivator? Did they have to go back to the mountain to find able-bodied men? The disciples had long gone to all over the world to gain experience, so it was not easy to find able-bodied men. Alas, if the junior sister Yu Xinyao that a certain someone couldn't forget was here, he could come up with some tricks. But now there was only one flat-chested, one fatty, and one. Wang Lu sighed, lowered his head, and happened to see a puddle on the ground. The surface of the puddle was as flat as a mirror, reflecting the slightly anxious face of the youth. Hey, wait a minute, there seems to be a way. Sister Ling, I'll have to trouble you and Fatty to wait here for a moment. I have an idea. Sister Ling thought he was in a hurry to go to the toilet, so she weakly waved her hand. Go, go. After about the time it takes to eat a meal, just when little Ling Er was a little bored standing at the entrance of the alley and was about to leave, suddenly, a person came from a distance. It was a beautiful girl with a medium build and elegant appearance. The woman was wearing a gorgeous long dress, adding a bit of flirtatiousness and charm to her delicate and pretty face. The girl swayed her hips as she walked, and her eyes flashed with infinite charm. Seeing this person, little Ling Er subconsciously frowned. Especially when she saw the girl's towering chest, she became even more hostile. What the hell? Where did this kind of person come from in this remote county? It stood to reason that all of them should be malnourished and withered. People from a small county should have the appearance of a small county. With such a big chest, did she want to be a professional nanny? Then, under little Ling Er's complicated gaze, the strange woman suddenly turned her head, smiled at her, and walked straight towards her. What do you want from me? Little Ling Er was in a bad mood, especially after the other party stood still, intentionally or unintentionally puffed out her chest, It was simply a provocation. Oh, it's mean? Who are you? Do I know you? Little Ling Er subconsciously replied, and then she completely froze. Because that voice was too familiar, it was clearly, it's me, can't you tell? I didn't fake my voice, it can't be, right? The lady boss felt that her jaw was about to drop to the ground. Wang Lu. At hashtag. At hashtag. Haha, this lady's surname is Wang Lu, why aren't you two coming to pay your respects? In short, because the two of you are of no use, I can only do it myself. I definitely don't have any special hobbies. It's just that I had an idea when I saw the reflection on the water. Sigh, although I can't be said to be very handsome, I can still take advantage of the fact that my secondary sexual characteristics haven't fully matured. I can still make a cameo appearance as a trap. Don't just open your mouth and stare blankly, give me some advice. Do I look passable with my current appearance? After spending some time, it should be more or less the same, but I still need to think about the details, but I can't care so much for now. The lady boss and Wen Bao still had a horrified expression, standing still like statues, not moving an inch. Wang Lu shook his head helplessly, then reached out to touch the lady boss' chest. Bang. It was another portrait. A certain 2D figure painting said with difficulty. Aren't you quite spirited? That unguarded posture just now was to lure the snake out of its hole? The lady boss blushed and covered her chest with her hand. Smelly rogue, dead pervert, you are simply disgusting. Wang Lu jumped down from the wall and angrily retorted, isn't it because of your incompetence, flat chest? Otherwise, why would you let a handsome man like me sell my body? I'm under a lot of psychological pressure, okay? Dead pervert. Stay away from me. Also, don't breathe, a pervert like you will pollute the entire county's air. Damn, why are you so arrogant, flat chest? The lady boss was extremely angry, but then she turned her eyes and couldn't help but wonder, you said I'm flat chest. But you're a big man, what's with your chest? It doesn't look like it's filled with cotton or apples. Wang Lu sighed and patted his chest, which made a muffled thumping sound. The lady boss was stunned, and then suddenly realized, you adjusted the shape of your ribs? My goodness, you actually learned this martial art in secret? Wang Lu sneered and said, my goodness, non-phase sword bone, isn't it training the bones? Although it's a bit uncomfortable, it's not a big problem to hold on for a day or two. In any case, as long as you don't use your hands and don't do any strenuous activity, there won't be much difference between you and a real guy. Using the dignified non-phase sword bone like this, it's really, if the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. I'm afraid this skill has already been used by Master in many more shameless ways. For example, the third leg bone. My insignificant skill is simply shameful. Well, let's not talk too much, I'm going to seduce him. The lady boss was surprised. You're going now? So direct? There must be a reason, right? Before I put on a long play with Wen Bao. That's because you two are too weak, so I had to increase the foreplay. But with my strength, why would I need lubrication? Wang Lu sneered, just wait and see, I'll let you experience the power of a professional adventurer. It's a professional adventurer pervert. Not long after, the three people once again arrived at the entrance of the courtyard. The lady boss and Wen Bao peeped in the dark, while the cross-dressed Wang Lu walked out from his hiding place with a confident smile. Taking advantage of the shadow of his hiding place, Wang Lu took out a bottle of wine from nowhere and poured it on his neck. Suddenly, the smell of wine filled the air. Then Wang Lu's steps also became unsteady, swaying left and right, like a drunken imperial concubine. Under the dumbfounded lady boss, Wang Lu softly opened his mouth and let out a burst of mournful cry. You damn heartless. You have a new person and you forget about me. That pledge of undying love, it's all a lie. The lady boss only felt as if there was a violent thunder roaring above her head. Her vision turned black and she almost fainted. This was really destroying her worldview. Although for a cultivator at the level of Wang Lu, changing his voice to produce a woman's fake voice was very easy, in fact even Wen Bao could do it. However, when she thought of the heartbroken woman in front of her who was drowning her sorrows in wine, her real identity was that fellow Wang Lu. Sorry, I'll still look for my chin on the ground. On the other side, while crying, Wang Lu seemed to intentionally or unintentionally walk toward the gate of the courtyard. The two guards naturally saw this drunken woman in the night and frowned. They felt that the situation was a bit strange, but they couldn't tell what was strange. In any case, they just watched the show. Although the drunken woman's appearance was a mess, if you looked carefully, her appearance was actually not bad. Especially that pair of lethal weapons on her chest, It really didn't look like something that a remote county like Marquis County could raise. The two guards' faces were wooden, pretending to be loyal and devoted guards of the house, but their eyes couldn't help but glance over. However, after a while they didn't need to pretend anymore. Because the woman actually staggered over and threw herself into the arms of the strong man, reeking of alcohol. The strong man was stunned, and subconsciously wanted to push the woman away, but the drunken woman's hands were too strong. She firmly grabbed his arm and he couldn't break free. None of you men are good things. You all like the new and hate the old, greedy and insatiable. You, quickly let go. The strong man broke out in a cold sweat. If this was seen by the housekeeper or even the immortal master, he wouldn't be able to keep his job. However, although the woman was drunk, it was hard to hide her outstanding beauty. He wanted to do it, but he really couldn't bear to. The other strong man was stunned for a while and wanted to come over to help. Who knew that when the woman saw him approaching, she immediately cried even harder, and fell to the ground unwilling to move. Just as he was in a dilemma, the courtyard door opened, and the housekeeper's face was full of anger. What the hell are you guys arguing about outside? If you anger the immortal master, who among us will have a good time? The two martial masters hurriedly explained the situation, and then hurriedly lifted the drunken woman for the housekeeper to see. The housekeeper frowned because of the smell of alcohol, but when he saw the woman's appearance, especially the snow-white chest under her messy clothes. Damn it, a pillow when I'm sleepy. The housekeeper clenched his teeth, and reached out to find a mysterious servant in the courtyard. He asked him a few questions and then said to the two martial masters, "You two carry this woman into the house for me." But this woman. The housekeeper gritted his teeth. Damn it, although we don't know where she came from, how can we care so much at this time? The immortal master has long lost interest in the original batch of women, but where can we find an absolute beauty that can catch his eye in this small county? We found one before, but she was despised for having small breasts. But could it be? The immortal master personally arranged this house's array, so we don't need to worry about it. The two martial masters nodded. In any case, it was the housekeeper's idea, and the two of them were only responsible for carrying it out. They then carried the already drunk woman into the courtyard door. The housekeeper personally escorted them, and when he saw that there was no one around, he carefully closed the courtyard door. He muttered, "This one's breasts are big enough, much better than that tomboy." At the same time, in a dark corner nearby, the lady boss, who had been watching the whole thing, spat out a mouthful of blood. "You perverts, all of you must die." Chapter 91. The housekeeper and the martial master carried the woman into the courtyard. They intended to go to the bathroom to wash, but they heard the impatient voice of the immortal master directly exploding in their ears. Okay, no need to be so troublesome. Bring that woman to me. Damn, you can't even do such a small thing, a bunch of waste." Before his voice fell, a mass of green gas fell from midair and swept the woman's body. Suddenly, the smell of alcohol disappeared, and a burst of fragrance assaulted their nostrils. The two brawny martial masters were startled. This was the immortal method. The immortal method that happened in front of them. Although the effect was only simple cleaning, with the immortal master's technique, since the green gas could fall from the sky naturally, it could also fall from the sky with divine thunder or fire. How could it not be awe-inspiring? Hearing the immortal master's urging, the housekeeper quickly said, "Immortal master, this woman's background is a bit... Humph, what's the big deal about her background? Quickly bring her in." A group of people quickly carried the woman into the main room. They saw the old cultivator with a face full of dissatisfaction. He was sitting on the bed with his chest exposed, and his face carried a bit of hostility. Behind the old cultivator, there were two women lying on the bed. Their lower bodies were stained with blood, and their faces were stained with tears. They had already fainted. Damn, at this time, why are you trying to break through? Who is going to raise this old man's chi? How could this ordinary woman withstand my Vajra scepter? It turned out that this pair of adulterous couples' dual cultivation method, once activated, needed to be practiced every day without rest. Coincidentally, during this period of cultivation, the chi-cultivating stage female emissary was on the verge of breaking through, so she had to nourish her spiritual energy and prepare to break through. As a result, the 6 stars elder was in a miserable situation. Without a dual cultivation partner, he could only use the method of plucking the several mortal women in the room. Unfortunately, most of those mortal women had been in the human world for a long time, so most of their essence had already been drained. They were not even enough to fill the gap between the old cultivator's teeth. In desperation, the old cultivator couldn't wait to go out to the county town and abduct the women. However, the quality of the women in the county town was mediocre, so it would take more than 100 of them to suppress the evil fire in his jade mansion. And to pluck more than 100 people. Even if he had a good relationship with the county magistrate, he would not be able to suppress this matter. Once he provoked the cultivators of the Eastern Host Prefecture, the entire Seven-Star sect would face a big trouble. Right at this moment, it was as if the heavens had opened their eyes and sent charcoal in the snowy weather. A peerless beauty descended from the sky. He had delivered himself to his doorstep. Of course, she couldn't be said to be a peerless beauty that could cause the downfall of a city. However, she had a good appearance and a voluptuous body. These 2 points were not easy to fulfill. Although she couldn't be compared to 100, she might be able to solve today's emergency. It was really an urgent matter. If he continued to hold it in, the old cultivator felt that he would suffer from chi deviation in less than 2 hours. Therefore, at this time, even if he knew that this woman had a powerful background, he couldn't care less about it. He picked up his spear and got on the horse, leaving first. What's more, he was in his own courtyard, which was heavily guarded by arrays. Who would he be afraid of? To a certain someone, things were progressing so smoothly that it was strange. Originally, there were still a few obstacles that required some thought and effort, such as bathing and changing clothes. But unexpectedly, it was smooth sailing all the way to the main room. However, he himself was not mentally prepared. F***CK, I haven't taken any potions, I haven't gotten any buffs, and I'm already starting the fight? It can't be, right? For Wang Lu, single-handedly contending against a Foundation establishment stage cultivator was an extremely serious challenge. It could even be said to be an unsolvable problem. Especially since this courtyard was the opponent's home field, no one knew how many inescapable traps they had laid. Previously, after listening to Wen Bao's description of the details, Wang Lu was able to roughly identify the 3 layers of arrays. They were all common arrays that were explained in the textbook. When the 3 layers were combined, the courtyard would be connected to the cultivator's jade mansion and primordial spirit. Every change in the grass and the trees would be completely under his control. Moreover, the cultivator's spells could be released from any corner, without any blind spots. This part belonged to the basic skills that the cultivator would use to open his own immortal's cave in the future. It was not that powerful or bizarre, but it was the embodiment of a cultivator's basic skills. In the morning, after listening to the fatty's explanation, Wang Lu felt that this opponent was really not easy to deal with. Nowadays, in this group of low-class sects, there were very few cultivators with solid basic skills. All of them regarded their cultivation level as higher than the sky. In their cultivation path, they madly rushed forward and ignored everything else, causing their cultivation level to be shallow. Often they would be challenged by the cultivators from the big sects, and they would piss their pants in terror. Considering this actual situation as well as his previous experience of killing 2 4-star emissaries effortlessly, Wang Lu didn't set too high an expectation for the 6-star elder. He never thought that this lecherous stick of perverted stick was also a stick of perverted stick with a solid foundation, which was not easy to deal with. Therefore later on he insisted on taking the route of sneak attack. But now he didn't know if he should say that his luck was good or bad. The advantage was that the opponent's brain was filled with lust, so out of every 10 points, 6 or 7 points would be deducted. As for the disadvantage, his side was not fully prepared, so he couldn't bring out his full ability. However, the ugly daughter-in-law still has to go to her father and mother. Who cares if you go through a mountain of daggers or a sea of flames? Come at me directly. Several people carried Wang Lu all the way into the main room. The housekeeper instructed them to put Wang Lu on the ground. He looked up with a smiling face, wanting to curry favor with the old immortal master. However, the next moment he was slapped by the red-eyed old man. The other 2 sturdy men were startled, and very consciously, they quickly withdrew from the room and closed the door. Then they secretly sighed, thinking, poor lovelorn drunken woman. I wonder if she can live until tomorrow morning? Previously, the several women who were plucked by the old immortal master, although they didn't die on the spot, according to the doctor, they would be seriously ill and would need to recuperate for 3 to 5 months before they could recover. Now that the old man was already losing his mind, perhaps. At the same time inside the room, the old cultivator's hunger and thirst had long been unbearable. Seeing the drunken woman on the ground, especially her exposed white chest, he could no longer bear the burning desire in his jade mansion. With a lascivious smile, he stretched out his hand to take off her clothes. Little beauty, I'm coming. However, unexpectedly the next moment the woman suddenly got up. Her gorgeous long skirt was twisted by her body and flew in the air, blocking the old cultivator's line of sight. Under this strange change, the old cultivator was horrified. He never thought that the mysterious woman, whom he regarded as a long-lasting drought, was actually an assassin. When the woman entered the room, he had clearly identified that she didn't have any cultivation base. Therefore, he felt relieved and boldly prepared to pluck her. However, he didn't expect that the person who came in was actually a chi cultivating stage cultivator from a famous sect with solid basic skills. Even though her cultivation base was not high, the method to hide her cultivation base was brilliant. Due to his momentary negligence, he was unexpectedly deceived. However, this old man was indeed worthy of the title of a 6 stars elder. Although he was horrified, he subconsciously reacted. The magical power in the old man's jade mansion surged, and his loose skin and flesh suddenly swelled up. There was a faint luster circulating on the surface, which was harder than steel. At the same time, Ning, Chen, prison. In a row, 3 incantations were blurted out almost at the same time. Moreover, the target of these incantations was impressively the female assassin hiding behind the long skirt. When an ordinary person encountered an assassination, their subconscious reaction was to dodge and defend. However, according to the statistics of professionals, the best response was actually to fight back. When an assassin carries out an assassination, most of your defensive techniques have already been dispelled. No matter how hard you try to defend yourself, you can't block the enemy's attack. On the other hand, if you go all out, you can often find a way to survive. It may sound ridiculous, but this is the objective reality and you can't deny it. And this was also the valuable knowledge that the old cultivator learned in a Wuxia League sect when he was young. The first thing he did was to go through several procedures to defend against sneak attack and assassination. He used the incantations to pin down the opponent, and then he used his powerful foundation establishment cultivator's body to protect his life. He was confident that unless the opponent's cultivation base was several times higher than his, he could at least survive the first round of attack. But for an assassin, as long as the first round was not successful, it would be difficult to succeed later on. Sure enough, in the old cultivator's soul-stirring state, the long skirt in the air slowly fell to the ground. The assassin behind the curtain was firmly bound by the 3 incantations, and her movement became stiff and slow. However, he couldn't take it lightly because although his thunderous strike was blocked, the opponent's killing move was not finished. The woman's waterfall-like long hair at this time really spread out like a waterfall and shrouded him. What kind of evil method was this? The old cultivator was secretly surprised, but he didn't panic. Once again, he spat out the incantations, summoning a gust of demonic wind, which blew away those 3,000 strands of hair. No matter what, they couldn't get close to him. However, when the demonic wind whistled, the old cultivator's heart suddenly moved, and he subconsciously reached out to his throat. However, he just happened to touch an invisible filament. My goodness. Pretending to be a plank road but secretly sneaking in Chinsong. The real killing move was hiding here. Although this thin filament didn't have any killing power, if it really wrapped around his throat, the incantations would not be smooth and it would be very troublesome. Fortunately, he had cultivated for nearly 100 years. Although his realm was not high, he had cultivated a keen intuition, which saved his life at the critical moment. After the invisible filament was discovered, it naturally couldn't do anything, and the old man twisted his finger and twisted it away. At this point, the opponent had used up her trump card, and could only struggle futilely under the suppression of the 3 incantations. The old man immediately let out a sigh of relief, knowing that the most difficult stage had been passed. Next, he would slowly deal with this extremely daring female assassin. Thinking of this, the old man couldn't help but become angry. However, at this time, the long skirt fell to the ground, revealing the assassin's true body. From the outline of her underwear, he could vaguely see the shape between her legs. The old man's straight spear suddenly softened. I knew it. What beautiful assassin, it's all a lie. But, why don't I just make do? In any case, her face is not bad. Thus, although the spear between his legs still needed nourishment, the fire in his heart began to burn again. At this time, a voice suddenly sounded from behind him, which instantly made his fiery heart sink to the bottom of the valley. You perverts, all of you must die. On the back of his head, a powerful blow without any hindrance penetrated his protective shield, and shattered the high-rank magical tool that he regarded as his second life, the 7 Treasures Heart Protection Mirror. A vast and unparalleled force crazily rushed over like a stormy sea, scattering his divine sense and shaking his jade mansion. his vision turned dark and he fainted. Chapter 92. Ha, Sister Ling, we really are sisters with tacit understanding, ha. Who's the sister of a pervert like you? Ha, don't be shy. In the main room, Wang Lu laughed heartily. At the same time, he exerted his strength to move his body, which was suppressed by the truth spell, and gradually regained his senses. However, the 3 consecutive incantations just now were indeed no small matter. Without the sword of Mount Kuan in his hand, he couldn't use the non-phase law-breaking sword, which was his only hope to resist it. The 3 incantations were tantamount to covering his body without any hindrance. Thanks to the solid cultivation of his non-phase sword bone and non-phase golden bell shield, he was not directly shocked to death by the true word technique. If it was a 4-stars emissary who was at the peak of chi refining stage, he would probably be half dead from the shock. This was how difficult it was to challenge someone of a higher cultivation level, especially one of a higher cultivation level. The difference between them could be described as the difference between heaven and earth. The strength of a foundation establishment cultivator was clearly displayed. Wang Lu sighed. Foundation building cultivator, why are you so cool? Loser my ass, you're the loser. This guy is a disgrace to the foundation establishment stage. If it's a foundation establishment stage from the Spirit Sword Mountain, a single incantation from him would be enough to crush you. While tying up the unconscious old cultivator with a rope, the lady boss unceremoniously launched a slanderous offensive against Wang Lu. Both of them were Spirit Sword Sect's disciples, but if a dignified foundation establishment cultivator faced an opponent who didn't have a sword in his hand and whose cultivation base was a whole realm lower than him, and couldn't use a spell to stop him, that would be a shame. If it wasn't for me, you'd just be waiting to be trampled to death by this old pervert. What true disciple jumping levels to challenge others? What a joke. Wang Lu used the non-phase emperor bone to move all the bones in his body, returning to normal from his current mimicry form. At the same time, he retorted to the lady boss' irresponsible remarks, I didn't even bring my main weapon, okay? This time, I snuck in as bait to fight for an opportunity for you. You have the nerve to criticize me? If it were you alone, would you be able to deal with this guy? He had long been trapped by his array formation. But you don't have to worry about being ravaged by him, you have a flat chest. She doesn't like you. F***CK, if you talk about flat chests again, I'll break off our friendship. Alright, if you have the time to quarrel with me, hurry up and go. Have you settled the other 4-star? The lady boss snapped, do I need you to tell me that? When I snuck in, the first thing I did was get rid of that slut. Luckily I was quick, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to save you in time. Hey, don't make yourself out to be a lone hero, okay? If I didn't attract that dirty old man's attention from the front, could you have easily sneaked in? Even if you have the vacuum ability, you can't do it, right? Let's split the work and work together. You and I will share half of the credit, okay? The lady boss snorted. Up to you. Who cares for such worthless merits? You're just a trifling third-rate foundation establishment. Look at how proud you are. Of course Wang Lu was proud. It wasn't because he and the lady boss had defeated an opponent whose cultivation was far higher than his, but because, with a 6-star captive, how could they still find the 7-star sect's headquarters? As a sect elder, his weight was already heavy enough. If he could bring him back to the village, this task could be considered completed. Although deep in his heart, Wang Lu didn't think that bringing back an elder could solve the Wang family village's problem, but, who are you? While Wang Lu was lost in thought, that dirty old man also woke up. A foundation establishment stage cultivator's body was much stronger than a chi cultivating stage cultivator's. However, after being hit by the lady boss's fist, his entire jade mansion almost fell apart, and his mind also suffered a heavy blow. Although his mind recovered, he simply couldn't mobilize even a trace of magical power. He was like a cripple. The rope that the lady boss tied around his body was very casual. Usually he could break it with just one finger, but this time he unexpectedly couldn't break free. However, the silver lining in the misfortune was that the lady boss's fist not only scattered his mind and the magical power in his jade mansion, but also extinguished the raging fire of lust. Although the price of this was that his skill would regress for at least a few years, it was still better than cultivation deviation and self-immolation. Why did you sneak attack me? What enmity do I have with you? The lady boss frowned. So annoying listening to this dirty old man talk, I feel like it will dirty my ears. I'm going to the back, you two perverts can chat. Damn. I'm a dignified handsome man, how could I be a pervert? A woman wearing a skirt to seduce a perverted old man is not qualified to defend herself. TSK, a 30-something flat-chested woman is qualified to accuse others? Forget it, I'm too lazy to bother with you. The lady boss pouted and directly went to the back room. Only Wang Lu and the old man were left. Wang Lu leaned forward. Do you recognize my face? The dirty old man was just hit until he was dizzy and his vision blurred. However, after gawking for a moment, he exclaimed, Wang Lu? Oh, it seems like you recognize me. So, what do you think now? I surrender. The dirty old man was, after all, a foundation establishment cultivator with rich experience. His mind quickly turned through countless thoughts and made a wise judgment. No matter how he was defeated or what was going on with that inexplicable girl, in short, the current situation was completely out of his control, and the opponent's strength was far beyond his expectation. To be honest, he somewhat believed the conjecture put forward by the other elders in the previous meeting at the main altar. Was this Wang Lu really a disciple of one of the 5 unique sect? As for why there was no Yuanying stage-old monster coming down the mountain to fight for their disciple, it was probably because of this special experiential learning? When he was in the Wanxian League sect, he had received such a concept, so it was not a new thing. That being the case, there was no other way but to surrender. Moreover, at this time he was glad that he didn't injure the opponent, otherwise, if he really provoked a Yuanying stage-old monster, that method would be enough to make him beg for death. Seeing the dirty old man so readily surrender, Wang Lu was stunned. You're quite sensible. Very well, then briefly explain your 7-star sex crime in the Wang family village. The dirty old man sighed and was very cooperative. Like pouring beans out of a bamboo tube, he spilled everything he knew. The dirty old man's surname was He Yun. In his early years he cultivated in a small Wanxian League sect. Later, because he violated the sect's rules and his cultivation progress was slow, he was kicked out. After wandering in the 9 regions for several years, by chance coincidence, he joined the 7-star sect and began to do dirty business. And the Wang family village was just one of the countless classic cases of the 7-star sect in the Blue River region. If they didn't provoke a heaven-defying person like Wang Lu, there was nothing to write home about. Needless to say, Wang Lu was also very clear about that trick. But, you said you want me to go to the Wang family village and explain the truth to the villagers? The dirty old man He Yun was lying on the ground and made a thoughtful expression. I think this is inappropriate. At this time, Wang Lu was also upset about this matter, so he casually asked, what's inappropriate about it? The dirty old man hurriedly explained, this, as far as I know, the 7-star sect has been doing this for many years. Those who have been deceived. If they want to repent, unless they are badly bruised and have nowhere else to go, it's almost impossible. Once a person's greed is aroused, it's very difficult to suppress it. Even if I explain it to them, they will only think that you bribed me to deceive them. Wang Lu snorted. Yeah, so what? The dirty old man really wanted to say, so, please give up this unrealistic idea. You're a cultivator of the 5 uniques, why bother to care about a group of wild people? Didn't the Lingjian school cut off their worldly ties? Moreover, even if you value your worldly ties, just bring your biological parents and other important relatives back to the sect. It's not realistic to want the whole village's chickens and dogs to ascend to heaven. For a time, the dirty old man was speechless and froze on the spot. Wang Lu didn't expect him to really come up with an idea. He himself couldn't think of an answer to this difficult problem, so how could this dirty old man come up with an idea? At present, this combination of swindler and idiot was simply off the charts. Even if his cultivation was unfathomable and he could slap the entire 7-star sect to death, it would still be of no use. The idiots in the Wang family village had already decided to follow the path of mortal-immortal cultivation. Each and every one of them didn't care about their ugly appearance and wholeheartedly pursued the immortal cultivation. Even if he killed the 7-star sect, as long as he couldn't let them become immortals later on, the 8-star sect and 9-star sect would inevitably take advantage of the situation. Alas, thinking about this, he really wished he could pick up his sword and kill everyone in the village so that he could have peace and quiet. Wang Lu was in a bad mood, but on the surface he looked more and more relaxed. Instead, he started to banter with the dirty old man. You said that in the past you were also a good person and your family background is also not bad. How could you be fooled by the 7-star sect and willingly become their sect leader's lackey? The dirty old man recalled the past and wryly smiled. Our sect leader is also not an easy person to deal with. Both of us came from the Wanxian League. In fact, half of the sect's elders are from the Wanxian League. Although in your opinion they are the 3rd class, but among the 3rd class, the 7-star sect's development is quite good. Since they have this foundation, why not honestly cultivate instead of making life difficult for a group of wild people? The dirty old man said, their heart is clouded by profit. The 7-star sect's high-level members are basically cultivators who have encountered obstacles in their cultivation, so it is difficult for them to go further. Therefore, when they are discouraged, their desire increases. After these years of swindling, they have accumulated quite a lot, so they really can't stop. Especially in the past few years, a batch of high-quality goods flowed out of the White Moon country to confuse the world, and the effect is excellent. In our 7-star sect's most glorious time, we once included a prefectural city into our sphere of influence. Among the hundreds of thousands of people in the city, 60 to 70% of them were followers of our sect. During that period of time, even the lower-level disciples of our sect lived a very comfortable life. Compared to those who have no aptitude, no opportunity, and still believe in their own path of cultivation, we are many times better. Hearing this, Wang Lu's interest was piqued. Comfortable? How comfortable can it be? No matter how much wealth there is in the mortal world, it's just that. The dirty old man shook his head. You don't know about this. If it's the Wang family village or the Marquis County, there's indeed not much profit to be gained. However, if it's a more affluent county or even a prefectural city, it would be very different. Although high-rank magical tools, magical treasures, and so on are still rare, the other resources are very abundant. For example, spirit stones. I remember that year when we occupied the prefectural city. Within a year, our 7-star sect obtained hundreds of thousands of spirit stones. Although the grade is not the same after all. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Wang Lu's incredulous voice. Hundreds of thousands of spirit stones? That's right. Are you trying to brag? The dirty old man anxiously said, absolutely not. If you don't believe me, you can check it yourself. Not only our 7-star sect, if other sects can occupy a prefectural city, they can also obtain hundreds of thousands of spirit stones. If it's a high-rank mansion, 1,000,000 spirit stones is not a problem. Seeing the dirty old man being so serious, Wang Lu frowned and asked, strange, how could a group of mortal world's pariahs get so many spirit stones? The dirty old man explained, of course, it's from accumulating sand into a tower little by little. In the 9 regions, there are generally 2 kinds of source of spirit stones. One is from the place where the surrounding spiritual energy converges, which over time, would form a spirit stone vein. Not only the reserve is abundant, but as long as it's mined appropriately, it's almost inexhaustible. The other kind is from the scattered spirit stones that are scattered between heaven and earth, which are accidentally produced by various chance coincidences. Nowadays, the rich mineral vein is often occupied by the famous sects, because it's convenient to mine and abundant in output. But in fact, from the total amount, those scattered spirit stones are not inferior to the mineral vein. It's just that it's not easy to collect them and the cost is too high. However, for the mortal world there are thousands of common people, so if they collect them bit by bit, the total amount would be extremely astonishing. Considering the vastness of the 9 regions, the immortal cultivation sect only occupies a negligible amount of space. Wang Lu nodded. That's reasonable. It's wrong to ignore the power of the masses. But, a prefectural city has hundreds of thousands of spirit stones. TSK, I really didn't expect this. The dirty old man laughed. Yes, it's because these famous sects, didn't expect this, that we have the space to make a fortune. Moreover, spirit stones are not the most important thing for us. The benefits of occupying a prefectural city are simply innumerable. Wang Lu asked, can you tell me in detail? The dirty old man thought for a moment. For example, a prefectural city's annual revenue is about a few million taels of silver, but the financial value that we can amass every year can be 10 times that. What, the 10 times the revenue? You're absolutely making a big leap. The dirty old man laughed. But this is the truth. A country's revenue usually won't deplete the goose that lays the golden eggs to catch the fish, because if the tax is too heavy, the people will have no way to make a living, and in the end no one will get any benefit. However, the 7-star sect is different. Those foolish people who believe that mortals can also cultivate to become immortals, in order to become immortals, they don't hesitate to do anything. So what if they have to go bankrupt? They can even sell their wives and children, just in exchange for a pack of spirit root culture pills. With such foolish people, why would we worry about money? After the dirty old man said that, before Wang Lu even had the time to open his mouth, he heard the lady boss angrily said, earning this kind of unconscionable money, can you still sleep? Being yelled at by the lady boss, the dirty old man's whole body trembled. Compared to the chi cultivating stage cultivator Wang Lu, he was actually more afraid of the flat-chested girl, who obviously didn't have any cultivation, but could break his countless layers of defense with just one punch. She was the real monster. Therefore, hearing her anger, the dirty old man immediately explained, "Actually, you can't blame us for this. Those fanatics who lost their families in many cases are asking for it. We just made some false advertisements, but the things are clearly priced and we didn't force them to sell. Even some conscientious people, seeing that their conditions are really poor, will persuade them to do what they can. But for those fanatics it's useless. If we say too much, they will suspect that we're giving them preferential treatment. In order to cultivate to become immortals, they can do anything. For example, the Wang family village. 2 days ago, I just received the news that several families are afraid of losing the favor of the Seven-Star sect, so they plan to take your parents and family as hostages to claim credit." Hearing this, the lady boss was slightly shocked. She quickly turned to look at Wang Lu, but she found that the latter was completely indifferent. Sometimes I think that maybe this is human nature. For the sake of a bottle of spirit root cultivation, many people would not hesitate to commit murder and arson. The lady boss couldn't help but ask, "But, to mortals, no matter how deranged they are, those spirit root cultivation pills couldn't possibly have any effect, right? Why are you still so stubborn?" The dirty old man said, "Of course there is an effect. After all, it's the groundbreaking invention of the Xingjing sect's Patriarch 6 harmonies. Even if one's aptitude is dull, no matter how rare the immortal fate is, as long as they continue to take it, their cultivation can still progress. And it's this insignificant progress that can attract them wave after wave. In any case, I'm a foundation-building cultivator in name and in reality, but I didn't expect that the matter of cultivating to be so attractive." At this time, Wang Lu also interrupted and explained, "Sister Ling, now in the cultivation world, other than ancient sects like ours, as long as we let go of artificial spirit roots, basically as long as you have money, you will have a cultivation base. Even someone as fat as Wen Bao can have a cultivation base of qi cultivating stage after being fed with spirit root cultivation and the like for more than 10 years. The cost and the gain are completely disproportionate. No matter how much effort these commoners put in, how much money can they take out to exchange for cultivation elixirs? I'm afraid I won't even be able to stabilize the 9th level of qi cultivating stage even if I go bankrupt for a few decades. What's the point?" The dirty old man was stunned for a long time. "In fact, I don't know what the point is, but since they are willing to suffer, we are certainly willing to fight." Wang Lu shrugged. "Sister Ling, don't try to understand the thoughts of those idiots. If they were willing to use their brains and reason, I wouldn't have to come here to deal with this old pervert." The dirty old man wryly smiled a few times. He didn't know what to say. However, he soon realized that he didn't need to say anything anymore. Because Wang Lu continued, "However, those words just now gave me an idea." "Idea?" The lady boss, who was leaning on the door frame that led to the back room, asked in boredom. Presumably, it was some kind of earnest and well-intentioned exhortation, such as telling those words to the villagers. The lady boss didn't have much contact with the villagers in the mortal world, but she also knew that if exhortation was useful, the Seven-Star sect wouldn't be able to do such a big thing. However, this kind of Wang Lu was really rare. On the Spirit Sword Mountain he was carefree and unrestrained, but in the mortal world he still had so many worries. However, the reason why the Lingjian school sent their disciples down the mountain was precisely because of these worries. Cutting off the mortal world was a painful process, so Wang Lu would probably have to suffer a lot later on, right? Then, from the corner of her eyes, she saw Wang Lu had a faint smile on his face, which immediately sent a chill down her spine. "Yes, it's just an idea." Wang Lu's voice was as soft as silk, and each word was spat out with exceptional clarity, as if it carried an astonishing power. The lady boss's breathing slightly quickened. The silence in the room made her feel that her heartbeat had become ear-piercing. She had seen this scene before. It was the unique temperament of a cultivator when they had an epiphany. Could it be that Wang Lu really thought of something? In the silence, Wang Lu's soft voice tore the silence. "All living things are stupid." Upon hearing this, the lady boss was startled. "What living things?" "In this world, most people are stupid. This kind of stupidity comes from nature, just like how birds are born to fly and fish are born to swim. In this world, most people are born to be stupid. This is the natural law, there's no way to disobey it. I once tried to resist this natural law in the Wang family village. I thought that my eloquence was unhindered, but the result was that I couldn't even win against a small fry. It's not because my eloquence degenerated, but because at that time, I disobeyed the natural law. I went against the natural law, so I lost. On the contrary, although in our view the Seven Star Sect is a lowly cult organization in this matter, they actually complied with the will of the heaven. The lady boss was about to go crazy. This is your epiphany? Did you misfire? They complied with the will of the heaven? Wang Lu, can you wake up a bit? Wang Lu said with a smile, right now, my mind is unprecedentedly clear. It's you who's confused, Sister Ling. Think about it carefully. Between heaven and earth, what is the biggest law? It's the survival of the fittest, the survival of the fittest. It's the law of the jungle. You see, the fox catches the rabbit, but what did the rabbit do to deserve to be eaten? The rabbit eats grass, so those flowers and grass deserve to be eaten? The answer is, the natural law is like this. If you sympathize with the flowers and grass, the rabbit will starve to death. If you sympathize with the rabbit, the fox will starve to death. The final conclusion will be that this world might as well not exist, lest all living things suffer. But this is obviously wrong. This series of reasoning completely confused the lady boss. The girl gently knocked the door frame with her head. However, even when the solid door frame cracked, she still didn't understand. Although she didn't understand, she still felt it was awesome. Wang Lu said, therefore put away your cheap sympathy. We often say that the heaven and earth are heartless, treating all living things as straw dogs. If you're trapped in the mortal world and can't extricate yourself from it, then that's fine. However, since you've embarked on the immortal path, you should look at everything from a higher perspective. The common people are stupid, so the heaven's path predestined them to be bullied and exploited. If no one bullies them, it would be a waste. The Seven Stars sect has done a very good job. They have successfully played an important role in the food chain. In my opinion, the Seven Stars sect and other similar sects are like a group of hardworking harvesters in a wheat field. What the hell, hardworking harvesters, you? The lady boss simply wanted to smash the entire wall with her head. Wang Lu's words completely messed her up. That's the truth? Wang Lu said and then sighed, the only problem is, as a harvester, the Seven Star sect is too lame. The lady boss, who still felt like her brain was like glue, bitterly nodded. In short, when it comes to criticizing the Seven Stars sect, we have a common language. However, the common language was gone. Because Wang Lu said with a smile, since the Seven Stars sect is unreliable, then we might as well leave this matter to the professionals. Professionals? Wang Lu pointed at himself. The professional adventurer is here. What the? No way. Chapter 93. In short, that's it. In my opinion, this world is full of exploitation. The fox exploits the rabbit exploits the flowers and grass exploits the earth. Unless you can stand at the top of the heavenly Tao, you have to contribute something, just like a tax, which is inevitable. And for the world's stupid people, their contribution can be called IQ tax. Instead of giving this tax to the Seven Stars sect, this scam gang, I might as well collect it. In the middle of the room, Wang Lu sat upright on the bed, talking with fervor and assurance. There were 4 people sitting in front of him. One of them was the lady boss. The young girl's hands were crossed on her chest. Her expression was somewhat disapproving but also somewhat uneasy. Next to her was the dirty old man He Yun, the former elder of the Seven Stars sect. At this time, the rope that bound him had been loosened and he was given a seat, enjoying the VIP treatment. However, sitting next to little Ling Er, this dirty old man felt like his hemorrhoids had flared up. He couldn't sit still. Next to him was a charming and enchanting female cultivator with a voluptuous figure. She was the dirty old man's dual cultivation partner, and also the contact person who was supposed to be stationed in the Marquis County, Wu Feihua. This woman was naturally seductive, and she also cultivated an evil cultivation method. Her every move faintly exuded a seductive charm. Unfortunately, her cheeks were swollen, and there were many internal injuries on her body. Originally, she almost broke through to the first level of chi cultivating stage, but she was beaten back to her original state by a single punch. Similarly, being in the same room with Wang Lu and little Ling Er, this female cultivator was also filled with nervousness and cold sweat. Next to Wu Feihua was the completely inexplicable Wen Bao. He was originally guarding outside the courtyard, but not long ago he was called in by the courtyard's martial arts guard with Wang Lu's token. What he saw in front of him was completely incomprehensible, and what he heard were all inexplicable theories. Senior brother, what exactly is going on? Wang Lu chuckled. As I just said, the law of the heavens dictates that the ignorant sentient beings in the world need to pay an IQ tax. And in order to effectively implement this law of the heavens, I decided to establish a sect. What? When Bao's fat chin almost dropped to the ground. Wang Lu continued, the purpose of this sect is to collect, manage and make good use of the intelligence tax of the world's fools, and to safeguard the interests of the fools. The lady boss raised her hand. What does this have to do with protecting interests? Of course. Wang Lu lightly said, compared to being exploited by the Seven Stars sect, isn't it better to be exploited by me? Tisk, what's the difference? You're both going to be raped. Do you want to be raped by your prince on a white horse or by a mountain spirit? What kind of bullshit analogy is that? I don't want either. Wang Lu said with a smile, the old virgin's thinking is not universal. In short, that's the truth. As long as my sect can do better than the Seven Stars sect, for those fools, it's a gain. However, no matter how inferior the Seven Stars sect is, after all, a sect that has existed for hundreds of years, so it's not easy for us to do better than them. Fortunately, we have several advantages. First, theoretical advantage. Although the Seven Stars sect has a lot of tricks to deceive others, they lack a set of consistent core theory. They can't really answer, why do we want to cultivate? Why can we cultivate? If we encounter a setback, how do we deal with it? But we can, because we have a complete set of theoretical system. The lady boss continued to raise her hand. When did we have this kind of theoretical system? Wang Lu's complexion was indifferent. I just thought about it 30 minutes ago. Second, institutional advantage. As an inferior sect, the Seven Star sect's management is loose, the system is chaotic and the efficiency is low. But we're different. We come from the 5 uniques of the Wuxia League. We have advanced institutional management experience, which can effectively improve the sect's operational efficiency and avoid risks. Ha! The lady boss weakly laughed. Third, personnel advantage. Most of the Seven Star sect's members are unsatisfactory good-for-nothing cultivators, as well as ignorant disciples who have been deceived. They lack faith in action and their personnel quality is extremely low. But we're different. Just me alone. Not only do I have the top void spirit root in the immortal cultivation world, I also received a complete system of advanced immortal cultivation education. Even though my current stage is not high, my growth rate is amazing, and my foundation is very solid. In terms of personnel quality, I have an overwhelming advantage. Fourth is, the lady boss raised her hand to interrupt him. Enough, don't talk about these useless things. Just tell me what you want to do. In short, it's to use the few of us as the team to establish a preliminary sect. Just now, I gave everyone a pep talk to boost their confidence. The lady boss snorted. You can do whatever you want, but don't count me in for this kind of unreliable thing. I'm not interested in a cult. With that, she got up and prepared to leave. Wang Lu sighed. But according to my plan, the sect needs a good image ambassador. This image ambassador not only needs to have a devastatingly beautiful appearance, but also needs to have a unique, holy, and amiable temperament. Among the people I know, except for you, no one else has these conditions. The lady boss indifferently uttered an "oh" and then obediently sat back down. Then a certain fatty timidly raised his hand. Senior brother, I still don't quite understand what's going on, Wang Lu resolutely said. You don't need to know that much. The fatty embarrassedly put down his hand. In short, since no one has a different opinion, our sect is officially established. The lady boss raised her hand again. After talking for so long, you don't even have a name for this sect? Of course we have a name. Our purpose is to manage and use the stupid people's IQ tax. Let's call it the 9 Regions IQ Tax Administration. What the hell, what kind of strange name is this? Abbreviated as IQ Tax Administration, isn't it very awe-inspiring? Awe-inspiring my ass. That's embarrassing, okay? Of course, the name IQ Tax Administration is avant-garde, so it's only limited to high-level internal use. Let's call it Wisdom Sect to the outside world. It's still weird? Tisk, it's hard to explain it to a person with IQ like you. Let's applaud first. Clatter, the room was filled with awkward sparse applause. A moment later, the lady boss put down her hand and sighed. Congratulations on risking being killed by the disciplinary elder to go down the mountain and set up your own cult organization. And then what? What do you want to do with these 2 people? With that, the girl pointed her finger at the 2 Seven-Star sect prisoners of war, which made the 2 of them tremble and cold sweat like a spring. They were afraid that they would be killed to silence them. Fortunately, Wang Lu didn't have any killing intent. Instead, he said with a smile, "The next step is to further enrich our talented team." With that, he looked at the dirty old man and Wu Feihua. The lady boss froze for a moment, and then incredulously asked, "Wang Lu, do you mean you want to also?" The dirty old man and Wu Feihua also widened their eyes in surprise. Although they already knew that Wang Lu didn't have any killing intent, they always thought that even if they could avoid death, they couldn't escape punishment. Now, it seemed like he wanted to take them as his underlings? Oh, these two people are the elders of the Seven Stars sect. Although their cultivation level is low and their foundation is poor, they are, after all, immortal cultivators. They can be used as labor force. Do whatever you want. The lady boss was obviously not interested in Wang Lu's business. After listening to these words, countless thoughts arose in the dirty old man and Wu Feihua's mind. However, no one dared to open their mouth, for fear that the other party would suddenly turn hostile and behead them. Wang Lu said with a smile, "Hee hee, you two don't have to be afraid. Although I have become enemies with the Seven Stars sect, as long as you two can forsake the darkness and enter the light, I will let bygones be bygones. In the future, as the backbone of my sect, if you do your best, all kinds of welfare and treatment will only be better than the Seven Stars sect." The two of them stiffly nodded with a smile. Their hearts quickly calculated the gains and losses, but they couldn't calculate it clearly. However, in any case they were now prisoners, so when Wang Lu said the sun rises from the west, they could only nod. Seeing the attitude of these two people, Wang Lu faintly smiled, thinking that the loyalty of these two newcomers was not enough. But it didn't matter. As a leader, especially as a leader, the most important thing was to lead the team, and the way to lead the team. That night, when they left the county magistrate's mansion, Wang Lu looked for the dirty old man and Wu Feihua to talk alone to boost their morale. He listed 3 benefits to the dirty old man He Yun, which instantly penetrated the other party's heart and made him a loyal dog. First of all, although my cultivation level is not high, you can't compare to my background. Even if I have only been cultivating for 2 years, the knowledge that I obtained from the 5 uniques of the Wanxian League, even if you exhaust your 100 years of effort, you still can't compare. The dirty old man wryly smiled and said, "That's true. I've been cultivating for 100 years, but my core cultivation method is just a random 7-star secret art. Even a middle-ranked cultivation method is rarely seen. However, the disciples of the famous sects and sects are actually flipping through the ancient books of high-rank cultivation methods. It's really... Don't be envious of a high-rank cultivation method. Even if I give it to you with your mixed spirit root aptitude, you won't be able to cultivate it. But even a low-rank cultivation method is suitable and not suitable. When you were cultivating in the Wanxian League, the compatibility between your spirit root and cultivation method was just passable. But after you were expelled from the sect, your foundation establishment cultivation method was cut off, so you had no choice but to use the 7-star secret to make up for it. This kind of compatibility plummeted. The road ahead is full of thorns, and your original foundation has also been abandoned, right? The dirty old man was even more speechless. However, I happen to have a few cultivation methods that are suitable for mixed spirit root. I don't dare to say that they can help you cultivate to a high realm, but after all, they are much better than your current half-dead state. As long as you do your job well, I can give these cultivation methods to you." The dirty old man's heart was immediately moved. Secondly, in the 7-star sect, you're nothing more than a 6 stars elder, so your power is limited. But now, I need people, so you're the deputy director of the tax bureau, which is also the vice sect leader of the wisdom sect. Head director's favor, I don't dare to accept it. There's nothing I don't dare to accept. Since the sect has just been established, there are many things waiting to be done. And the ones who can do it are you and your wife, these experienced people. If we rely on a shoddy lady boss who can't even run an inn and a fat youth, this sect would be finished. Hearing the evaluation of the lady boss, the dirty old man was frightened and didn't dare to casually respond. Moreover, the few of us going down the mountain is nothing more than experiential learning. We can't stay down the mountain forever. If this sect develops to a certain extent, letting you, the vice sect leader, be the executive vice sect leader is not a bad idea. Although the concept of the so-called executive vice sect leader was still unfamiliar, how could the dirty old man not understand its meaning? His heart was moved. Third, your 7-star sect, this kind of small sect at most, can only stir up trouble in a remote place. If it's a real feng shui treasure land such as the great Ming country's several rich and populous prefectural cities or even capital cities, do you dare to infiltrate it? Do you dare to infiltrate it? If you dare to show your face, the sects of the Union of 10,000 Immortals will crush you. However, I have a background in the Lingjin school, so which ordinary sect would dare to provoke me? At least in the Blue River region, the background of this Lingjin school is the absolute power. Wait a minute, Mr. Director, do you think that the Lingjin school will allow you to show your sect's signboard? Nonsense, of course not. If the disciplinary elder knew about this, he would be struck down by the lightning tribulation. I don't care, but you will certainly turn into ashes. What the? Therefore we can't blatantly show our signboard, we still need to be low-key. The Lingjin school is just our trump card, but if you don't have this trump card, your confidence in doing things will be different, understand? The Wang family village is just the starting point, and the Marquis County is just an insignificant stop along the way. Even the prefectural city of the Eastern Host Prefecture is not our destination. Open your eyes, in the Blue River region, there are many countries that are more powerful and richer than the Great Ming country. After hearing these words, the dirty old man was not only moved, but also his blood was boiling. How long has it been since he was moved by his ideals? Since he was expelled from the sect, wandering in the 9 regions, most of the time the dirty old man was muddle-headed, muddling along. However, today after talking with Wang Lu, he suddenly found the meaning of his life. It was not just to have a double cultivation with the big breasts, charming face, but completely lacking in noble temperament. In the Blue River region, he didn't know how many famous female cultivators there were. Previously he was just an insignificant member of the immortal cultivation world. In the words of the director, he was a loser. But now it was different. In the future, if he was successful in his career, he was afraid that those outstanding beauties would line up for him to have sex with them. Wang Lu used these 3 advantages to move the dirty old man He Yun, and he also used a similar theory to move the dirty old man's Taoist companion, Wu Feihua. Madame Feihua quickly realized that if she followed the director and worked hard in the future, if he was successful in his career, those beautiful male cultivators would all be her furnace, Alas, in fact, the conditions of the director were not bad. He was young, at the intersection of youth and youth, handsome and elegant, and his temperament was also good, when he didn't speak. More importantly, he had a bright future and he also had his primordial young energy. Unfortunately, there was that fierce and peerless flat-chested woman, so it was probably not her turn to eat this piece of meat. But so what? Wu Feihua was already very satisfied with her future. In this way, the structure of the 9 regions IQ Tax Administration Bureau was basically formed. Chapter 94. Shortly after the establishment of the 9 regions Intelligence Taxation Administration, the first 5 leaders left the Marquis County overnight. The reason was very simple. As the base of the sect, Marquis County had too many congenital defects. First, the attitude of the county's officials and people toward the immortal cultivation sect was relatively cold. For example, the 7-star sect could be regarded as a relatively influential sect in the nearby area, but they couldn't wantonly develop believers in the county. They could only barely occupy the county magistrate's courtyard. Even the dirty old man He Yun, who was a 6-stars elder, had to pay the bill if he wanted to play with a woman. Cultivators simply couldn't be lawless here, and they didn't even have many privileges. Marquis County, as the ancient battlefield against the wild beasts, had a very deep heritage. Second, Marquis County, as the starting base, was relatively too conspicuous. If they wantonly levied IQ tax here, not only would it attract pressure from the Great Ming country, it was also bound to encounter resistance from the 7-stars sect. Third, they lacked the necessary network. Whether it was the dirty old man or Wu Feihua, they were just passers-by who were stationed here for a short period of time. They didn't have their own forces in the county, let alone Wang Lu and the others. With these several factors superimposed, leaving became an inevitable choice. Then, where would the 9 regions Intelligence Taxation Administration be based? The answer was actually obvious. My dear dog-ear mountain, I'm back. Facing the early morning sun, the chief of the 9 regions Intelligence Taxation Administration, or the Wisdom sect leader, Wang Lu, stood at the foot of the dog-ear mountain, smugly and loudly laughed. Are you sure you want to start developing your force in this wilderness? The Wisdom sect's holy maiden, Feng Ling, very puzzledly asked. It's completely inconsistent with your ambition to dominate the 9 regions. The fatty also began to complain, Senior brother, why are we always in the wilderness? The living conditions are too hard. Sect leader Wang Lu humphed and said, if we don't look for this wilderness and go directly to the capital of the Eastern Wei Prefecture, it would be strange if people don't shit on us. Although we have the Lingjin school behind us, we don't have people, we don't have money, we're an out-and-out grassroots sect. Moreover, I should have told you that a single spark can start a prairie fire. The path we are taking is called the rural encirclement of the city. The development of grassroots sects generally follows this path. If they succeed in the future, their future is limitless. What's more, the Wang family village had a unique advantage: rich spiritual energy which could easily trigger miracles. It could provide great assistance to the initial development of the sect. In the future, when the scale grew, it could even be used as a revolution. Oh no, a holy land for immortals. In fact, it has more advantages than those bustling cities. One of the 6-star perverts beside him heaved a long sigh. Director General is far-sighted and far-sighted. His words hit the nail on the head. In the past, when I was at the 7-star sect's main altar, the sect leader gathered all of our 6-stars elders to discuss the layout of the Wang family village. The plan that we painstakingly came up with is more or less like this. Moreover, there are many places that are not as thorough as the deputy director. Wang Lu nodded with a smile. You are very sensible. My promotion of you was not in vain. Work hard and there will be many benefits for you in the future. The dirty old man immediately expressed his gratitude. I will never forget director's great kindness. Even if my body is smashed to pieces, it would be difficult to repay it. What a loyal and devoted old servant face. It was hard to imagine that just a day ago, the two of them were diametrically opposed to each other. It was even more difficult to imagine that a foundation establishment stage cultivator would willingly submit to a low-level chi cultivating stage youth. This was the skill of a leader. As a leader, he didn't need to be more powerful than the others. As long as he could lead the team and let them exert their labor force to the limit, that would be the victory. On the way here, I have already clearly explained what you should do. You and Fei Hua can do it with peace of mind. The Wang family village has the foundation of the 7-star sect, so it won't be difficult to take it down. The dirty old man nodded and his complexion turned serious. Rest assured, Deputy Director, this is the first battle after Fei Hua and I abandoned the dark for the light. There will be no mistakes. I wish you success. With that, Wang Lu patted the dirty old man's shoulder, turned around and went down the mountain. The dirty old man and Wu Fei Hua looked at each other and smiled. They each launched their respective spells and floated down from the top of the mountain toward the Wang family village. The Wang family village on the Dog-Ear Mountain was originally a comfortable and peaceful village in the Marquis County. It was rich in products, simple and unsophisticated, just like a paradise. However, in recent years, a lot of changes had taken place in the village. The people's hearts gradually became violent, and the smile that often hung on the villagers' faces became increasingly rare. Instead, it was replaced by a kind of insatiable hunger and resentment. The village was filled with restless hostility. Early in the morning, more than a dozen villagers gathered in a dilapidated wooden house. There were young hunters, strong blacksmiths, and a few indignant peasant women. These people entered the house one after another and greeted each other. However, their voices were filled with a deep exhaustion. Brother Zhang, your face looks so ugly. Ah, Zhuzi, aren't you the same? Sister-in-law Wang, you haven't slept for a while, right? Yes, every night when I close my eyes I have nightmares. I always dream of a grotesque devil. When I wake up, I'm covered in cold sweat and can't sleep at all. AI, it seems like everyone is like this. That's right. Who in the village could sleep soundly these days? It's all because of that little devil. Not long ago, Wang Lu killed 2 7-star sex cultivators and a publicity envoy. Since then, many villagers have fallen into panic. They were worried that Wang Lu, this devil, would harm the whole village, and they were also worried that the 7-star sex Taoist immortals would punish the village. That little devil is really hateful. Not only did he cut off our immortal fate, but he also caused such a big disaster. AI, the whole village is going to be implicated by him. Yes, I heard from the people in the county that in a village, there's a kid who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He disrespected the Taoist immortals, and as a result, the whole village died of a sudden illness overnight. No one survived. That can't be. These 2 days I've been feeling a headache, could it be? When the crowd heard this, they immediately panicked. I don't think we can wait any longer. A village woman very high profile said, that little devil offended the Taoist immortals of the 7-star sect, so in the future, he will die a horrible death. But for no reason we're implicated by him. What's going on? Then what do you think we should do? What else can we do? Didn't we already discuss this a few days ago? We should capture that little devil's family and apologize to the Taoist immortals of the 7-star sect. Wang Fugue. He hasn't done anything evil in these past few years, so it's not good for us to make a move on him. Isn't it enough to give birth to a son who is worse than a pig and a dog? The village woman screamed, "Don't tell me you want everyone to be implicated by him." Sister-in-law Lu, what are you talking about? Aren't I also implicated by him? I just think that with that little devil here, it's not that easy to capture his parents. Moreover, didn't Xiaohu oppose it before? At this time, a scholarly-looking villager sneered and said, "Xiaohu is kind-hearted? What a joke. How can you be sure that Xiaohu isn't confused by the devil? The seven-star sect's Taoist immortals and ambassador were killed by the devil that day, so why did he leave Wang Xiaohu alive? In these 2 days that devil isn't here, so this is a rare opportunity. Why would Wang Xiaohu stop us from protecting Wang Fugui's family?" As soon as these words came out, the room immediately quieted down, and an even more violent mood quickly brewed. At this time, a burst of exclamation came from outside the room. Taoist immortals. Taoist immortals are here. Everyone in the room was surprised. Taoist immortals are here? They hastily pushed the door open and saw a mass of pink gauze covering 2 cultivators in the sky. Like an auspicious cloud that descended from the sky, they slowly descended under the eyes of more and more onlookers. These 2 people were naturally the dirty old man and Wu Feihua. The place where they landed was the open space in the middle of the village. After the 2 of them landed, they were quickly surrounded by dozens of people. With all kinds of complex eyes, they focused on them and talked about them. Are they the 7-star sect's Taoist immortals? They don't look like it. I heard that the 7-star sect's Taoist immortals would embroider stars on their lapel, but they don't. Then who are they? The dirty old man and Wu Feihua at this time kept in mind Wang Lu's exhortation and the self-cultivation of an actor. They turned a blind eye to the surrounding voices. They just frowned and looked around as if they were looking for something. Before long, a gray-haired old man tremblingly walked over. He was the Wang family village head, Wang Qinian. A few days ago, the chaos caused by Wang Lu in the village made him, the village head, unable to eat or sleep in peace. In just a few days, he seemed to have aged 20 years, and his originally steady pace had become unsteady. 2 Taoist immortals have come to our village. Our Wang family village, sorry for not going out to greet you. Wang Qinian stuttered for a while before he was interrupted by Wu Feihua. What a heavy devil aura. Wang Qinian was startled. Taoist immortals were indeed Taoist immortals. With a glance, they could see that there was a devil doing evil here. Thinking of this, the old man quickly knelt to the ground. Taoist immortals, save us. Our village has recently been attacked by a devil, the whole village is in danger. However, before the old man's knees could touch the ground, he was propped up by an invisible force. The dirty old man He-yun waved his hand. "Elder, please get up. We're here to subdue the devil." Wang Qinian was moved to tears. "Thank you, Taoist immortals, for your great kindness. It's just that, the devil is very powerful, so Taoist immortals must be careful. A few days ago, the 7-star sect's Taoist immortals were injured by the devil." However, Wu Feihua frowned. 7-star sect? Isn't that a devil sect? Wang Qinian was stunned. Devil sect? The dirty old man He-yun opened his mouth and said, "Yes, that's right. The devil aura lingering here is from the 7-star sect. This group of dogs really can't stop eating shit." With that, the dirty old man raised his hand and shouted, "Purify." Suddenly, a mass of boundless green gas was spouted out from his mouth, which turned into a mass of green cloud in midair and then fell down from the sky, enveloping nearly 100 villagers. After being contaminated by the green gas, all of them felt that their bodies were relaxed. All the dirt was gone and their whole body was full of energy. Immortal method, this is an immortal method? The villagers cried out in disbelief. Before this, although they had seen the 7-star sect's Taoist immortals display their immortal method, those Taoist immortal spells were far from this magical. Hearing the shouts from the surrounding people, the dirty old man inwardly laughed. Sure enough, they're all fools making a fuss over a mere cleansing incantation. Wu Feihua was naturally amused, but her face was as calm as still water. "Senior brother, your exorcism spell is really effective. This place is indeed polluted by the 7-star sect's devil aura." Yes, that exorcism spell is specifically for the 7-star sect's devil. Since the effect is so obvious, it's probably not bad. The 2 of them spoke in a professional tone as if it was light and breezy, but it made the surrounding people's hair stand on end. Wang Qinian plucked up his courage and interjected, "2 Taoist immortals, just now you mentioned the 7-star sect. What exactly is it?" The dirty old man righteously explained, The Seven-Star Sect is a very famous devil sect in the Blue River region. They specialize in deceiving the common people, and are the public enemy of our righteous sects. Boom. Wang Qinian felt as if he was struck by lightning. Suddenly he saw stars and his chest was in severe pain, as if his heart was about to jump out of his chest. Devil sect. Despicable. Deceiving. Public enemy of the righteous sect. Each word was like a heavy hammer that struck the tip of his heart, making his chest feel suffocated. However, the next moment, a cool breath hit his face. He saw that charming female cultivator stretched out her jade-like fingers and released a pink mist, which relieved him of his myocardial infarction. Senior, don't be too anxious. If you have something to say, then say it slowly. Wang Qinian coughed a few times, but his mind was still in a mess. However, the surrounding villagers heard it clearly. After the infinite shock, they gradually regained their senses. Some villagers couldn't bear it anymore and boldly opened their mouth to ask. Taoist immortal, what you just said, is it true? Wu Feihua was somewhat unhappy. Do we need to lie to you? The dirty old man played the role of a kind elder. This is absolutely true. This Seven-Star Sect has been stirring up trouble in the Blue River region, and the victims are countless. We, the righteous sect, have long wanted to crack down on them. Unfortunately, they come and go like ghosts, so we haven't been able to catch them. This time, my junior sister and I passed by this place and found that the devil chi here is astonishing, so we hurriedly came here. Unfortunately, we couldn't catch the Seven-Star Sect. After hearing those words, all the villagers were stunned. They felt as if the whole world was collapsing in front of them, unable to be rebuilt. The Seven-Star Sect was a liar? Devil sect? Public enemy of the righteous sect? How could it be possible? That was obviously a sect that could help everyone become an immortal. How could it be a liar? One of the villagers unwillingly asked, "May I ask, Taoist immortal, the Seven-Star Sect said that everyone can become an immortal, is that also false?" For a time the square was particularly quiet. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the old immortal's answer. Of course at this time, they didn't know what to do if the old immortal said no. However, they still had to ask. "Oh, everyone can become an immortal, this is, of course, true." The dirty old man said without batting an eyelid. The Seven-Star Sect didn't lie on this issue. Phew. For a time many people breathed a sigh of relief. However, that devil sect, let alone helping people become an immortal, the number of people who have been consigned to eternal damnation by them is simply too many to count. The villagers who had just calmed down, suddenly tensed up again. Consigned to eternal damnation? Humph, the spirit root development pills and other medicines they use are all exceptionally cheap defective products. Moreover, they completely don't know how to use them. They only let people take them indiscriminately, and then buy new medicines at sky-high prices. If they take them like this, even a cultivator who has a chance to become an immortal would be destroyed by these poisons. Wu Feihua quietly added, "Actually, this is still considered good. Even if they eat something bad, it would only destroy their spirit root. However, sometimes the Seven-Star Sect, in order to cultivate their devil method, would even sacrifice the lives of ordinary people to refine their devil treasures. That is truly tragic." The dirty old man nodded. Yes, last month they just launched the 10,000 spirits blood sacrifice on the eastern Sky Mountain. Within the radius of 100 miles, thousands of people were sacrificed. It's simply too horrible to look at. Yes, but their 10,000 spirits blood sacrifice is not complete. After it was launched, those villagers were half dead. Their bodies festered and melted, but they still couldn't die. They struggled for 7 days and 7 nights. Alas, that soaring resentment is actually a pleasant surprise. The two people's back and forth scared the nearby villagers to the point that their faces turned pale. The village head, Wang Qinian, stammered, "Taoist immortal. That Seven-Star Sect has been staying here for 2 years. I don't know if there's that 10,000 spirits blood sacrifice." The dirty old man's complexion turned solemn. 2 years? They have been planning this for so long? Yes. The old village head was about to cry. "Taoist immortal, please save us." A moment later, the surrounding hundreds of villagers all knelt down. "Taoist immortal, please save us." The dirty old man raised his hand and simultaneously helped the surrounding villagers up. "Rest assured, since we're just passing by, we won't just stand by and watch the Seven-Star Sect's evil deeds. Village head, please take us to walk around the village. We want to carefully examine this place." "Very well, this old man will lead the way for the 2 Taoist immortals." The 2 Taoist immortals, followed by hundreds of villagers, slowly walked around the village. Before long, They arrived at the periphery of the graveyard behind the village. The two people looked at each other, and then Wu Feihua made a horrified expression. What a strong death aura. What's going on here? The dirty old man was also aghast. Is this an ancient battlefield? Such a strong death aura, at least 1 million people have died here? Boom. The villagers behind him were frightened. The dirty old man continued to frighten them. No, this is not a normal accumulation of death aura, it's caused by a special array. My goodness, this is the gathering of the nearby spiritual energy along the feng shui line, which is then transformed by the yin and yang array. Originally, this kind of artificial death aura lacks activity, but the 7-star sect designed this array, which is stimulated by the Wang family village's yang energy. Once the death aura erupts, within a radius of thousands of miles, not even a blade of grass will grow. However, this buried heavenly evil weapon will take shape. Using such a strong death aura to nurture a heavenly evil weapon, what kind of power would it have? Wu Feihua lightly covered her mouth. She was extremely shocked. When did they bury such a deep thing? Probably because they were surrounded by the righteous sect and were forced into a dead end. However, if this heavenly evil weapon really succeeds, it will stir up trouble in the future, which will give us a big headache. Wu Feihua clenched her teeth. Senior brother, if we work together, we should be able to break this yin and yang life and death array, right? At most, there's only a 40% chance. However, if we wait any longer, the death aura may erupt at any time. Fortunately, our divination today was different, so we specifically came here to inspect. Finally, we came in time. Good, junior sister, let's do it. While speaking, the dirty old man's eyes turned sharp and he loudly shouted, "Reveal yourself." Buzz. A black sky curtain suddenly appeared in everyone's line of sight, like a dark cloud that blotted out the sky. Under the sky curtain, there were layers upon layers of ghostly shadows. Countless vengeful spirits and malicious spirits were forced to reveal themselves by the Taoist immortal's incantation and ran around. How could the nearby villagers have ever seen such a vision? For a time, they thought that the end of the world was coming, so they cried for their parents. The dirty old man and Wu Feihua looked at each other and smiled. This yin and yang life and death array and this dark sky curtain were naturally their masterpieces. With low-level foundation establishment and high-level chi cultivating stage cultivation, it was somewhat strenuous to activate this kind of illusion technique. However, if they added the high-rank spirit stones provided by Wang Lu, then it would be a different story. However, even so, with their cultivation they couldn't hold on for long. According to the script, it was time for them to take the next step. Senior brother, this life and death array is really powerful. We can't even suppress it. Even if we can't suppress it, we still have to suppress it. Now that hundreds of ghosts have appeared, if we don't suppress it, the death energy will erupt, and you and I will die without a burial place. But, I really can't hold on. Even if you can't hold on, you still have to. And I know. Junior sister, if the intensity of the death energy doesn't decrease, you have to run away by yourself. How can I leave you behind? If we die together. Amidst their hoarse roars, the two of them became more and more engrossed in their acting. The hearts of the villagers behind them became colder and colder. Under the stunned eyes of the people, a pretty girl came out from the broken black curtain. Her delicate eyebrows were slightly twisted, revealing a bit of dissatisfaction. Hey you two, what are you doing? The dirty old man and Wu Feihua survived a disaster. With cold sweat on their foreheads, they were stunned on the spot. A moment later, they hurriedly knelt down. Greetings, Saintess. Chapter 95. Greetings, Miss Holy Maiden. Facing the sudden appearance of this pretty girl, the dirty old man and Wu Feihua, after regaining their composure, did not hesitate to kneel down. Humph, you two are really something. You actually dared to break the 7-star sect's yin-yang life and death array. No matter what, it's a sect leader level array. If you can break it, I'll invite you to be the sect leader, okay? The dirty old man and Wu Feihua simultaneously apologized. Subordinates were thoughtless and overestimated themselves, which almost led to a disaster. Miss Holy Maiden, please punish us. Forget it. In any case, nothing bad happened. You two just need to remember this lesson. Doing good deeds is a good thing, but overestimating yourself is not good. The two quickly nodded, and then the dirty old man asked, Miss Holy Maiden, why did you come here? The girl said, of course I was instructed to come here. Someone divined that there might be a disaster here, so he asked me to come and see the situation. I didn't expect it to be you two idiots. Wu Feihua explained, my senior brother and I also divined and found out that there's an amazing change here, so, Humph, when you divined, didn't you also divine yourselves? Not to mention that there's really a change, can the two of you cope with it? Forget it, I'm not going to argue with you. I'll break the rest of the array first. With that, the girl, with a hurried look, lifted her leg and walked away. Her movement technique was surprisingly fast. With one step, she appeared dozens of meters away, and with another flash, she completely disappeared. After a while, from the corner of the village, a burst of ghostly cries, accompanied by the broken black light curtain, made people's hair stand on end. At this time, the villagers who had just recovered from the horror of life and death, boldly asked, two Taoist immortals just now, that fairy? The dirty old man wryly smiled. She's our sect's holy maiden. Her status is venerated, and her immortal method is superb. If it weren't for Miss Holy Maiden's arrival today, all of us would have died without a burial place. When these words came out, the villagers' eyes that were looking at the distant place suddenly became incomparably awestruck. Then the saintess is here, we. Village chief Wang Qinian was at a loss, his heart pounding. The dirty old man said, old man, you don't have to be afraid. The holy maiden has never paid much attention to unnecessary etiquette. Although she is sometimes impatient, she is actually a very warm and kind person. You don't have to pay special attention to her. Furthermore, the saintess is very busy. After dealing with the yin-yang life and death array, she will probably leave in half a day. Ah, you're leaving so soon? Wang Qinian and the others were taken aback. How can we do that? On one hand, he was reluctant to part with his savior. On the other hand, it was rare for a true immortal to pass by. If he just let him go like this, it seemed, the dirty old man sighed and said, the saintess has a venerable status, but there are many things to do. In any case, it's impossible for her to stay in one place for a long time. At least we can thank the saintess for saving our lives. The dirty old man still wanted to persuade them, but Wu Feihua had already put on a dark face. Eating local specialties in your Wang family village is likely to mean that other places like the Zhang family village or the Li family village will be harmed by the Seven Stars sect. When that time comes, do you think you can compensate for hundreds of people's lives? With such a big accusation, no one dared to speak. However, at this time they heard a burst of hearty laughter. Ah, how could she leave so quickly? Other people will take care of the other things. Our saintess is not a firefighter. I sent her here to fight for a long time. While talking, the protagonist of this drama finally appeared. It was an ordinary-looking, medium stature and nothing special about a young man. He looked about 17 or 18 years old. However, the vicissitudes of life in his eyes were like an old man's, which formed a great contrast with his relaxed smile, making people unable to tell his exact age. Who was he? For a time, this became the doubt in the hearts of most of the villagers. In fact, this young man was naturally Wang Lu in disguise. Moreover, he didn't spend too much time on this disguise. It was nothing more than a slight change of bone shape, and then a makeup technique to change the details. At least, this disguise was much simpler than Wang Lu's disguise. Moreover, this disguise didn't appear frequently, so there was no need to elaborate it. Today's appearance was nothing more than to set off another climax in this big drama. Through layers upon layers of methods, he would explode the climax to the extreme, exploding this group of brainless villagers out of their wits and at a loss as to what to do. This way, it would be convenient for the next step of brainwashing. And Wang Lu's appearance was undoubtedly successful. With a few words and a smiling face, he successfully attracted everyone's attention, leaving the villagers at a loss. However, among the more than 100 people, there were always those with sharp minds who captured the main point of that sentence. I sent her here. After realizing the meaning of this sentence, those smart people suddenly felt their vision go black. Their worldview, which had been repeatedly damaged, was once again shaken. There were signs of a head exploding. Of course, there were also some stubbornly unshakable people. Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to an immortal like that? This impatient and slow-witted boor subconsciously roared. But just as he finished roaring, he saw two pairs of cold and awe-inspiring eyes staring at him. The dirty old man and Wu Feihua, these two true immortals, were glaring at him. Suddenly he fell to the ground and a warm liquid flowed out from between his legs. For a mere mortal, being stimulated by the divine sense of high-level chi cultivating stage and low-level foundation establishment stage cultivators, it was natural for him to wet his pants. After displaying their immortal means, the two of them respectfully knelt down on one knee in front of the floating teenager, just like what was written in the script. Greetings, cult leader. Boom. The dirty old man and Wu Feihua's kneeling really scared the villagers. Greetings, cult leader. This was actually the arrival of the cult leader. No matter how ignorant the villagers were, they also knew what the word cult leader meant. For the villagers, it was probably a more terrifying existence than the emperor. It was simply unimaginable. Since they couldn't imagine it, they could only freeze on the spot. Wang Lu inwardly sneered. Sure enough, they were a group of fools who deserved to pay the IQ tax. Previously, even the 7-star sect's shoddy scam was able to deceive them. Now that they met with professional means, naturally they had no resistance. Although he was inwardly contemptuous, Wang Lu displayed his self-cultivation as an actor and still acted very realistically. What are you paying respects for? How could there be so many rules? Wang Lu smiled and waved his hand. The two people naturally made an invisible force-lifting posture and respectfully stood to the side. The dirty old man and Wu Feihua's realistic performance once again shocked the villagers, deepening their awe of Wang Lu, the cult leader. However, things were not over yet. Because of the previous appearance of a certain holy maiden, the dirty old man and Wu Feihua's status among the villagers had dropped a lot. Therefore, not long after, the holy maiden, who was dealing with the remnants of the Yin-Yang life and death array, appeared on the scene. Hey cult leader, why are you here? Didn't you say you have something important to deal with? I'm just worried about you. No matter what, it's still a cult leader level array. In case you're killed by the explosion, I can at least come here to burn some incense for you. Damn. What kind of attitude is this? Considerate, meticulous attitude of a superior toward his subordinate. Speaking of which, recently you didn't even kneel down to greet me, which made me suffer a blow. Tell me honestly, do you want to usurp my position? Usurp your sister? Although the girl said that, she still reluctantly saluted Wang Lu, but she quickly added a grimace. This kind of lively dialogue was naturally for others to see. Although in theory, a dignified and dignified leader with an unshakable hierarchy was more suitable to control a group of ignorant people. But first of all, with this group of amateurs in his hands, he was afraid that it would backfire on him. At the very least, if he made the lady boss kneel down respectfully to him, he would just have to wait for his portrait to be hung on the wall. Secondly, Wang Lu didn't intend to walk the path of a conventional sect. If he really wanted to walk it, he might as well borrow the dirty old man's identity to put on the 7-star sect's shell. However, he really didn't like the 7-star sect. Since he was determined to run a sect, if he didn't come up with something new, then he would be unworthy of his professional adventurer title. Therefore, this time he put on a big show to smash the 7-star sect's set of deceit. Then he would let these foolish villagers see the power of the IQ tax bureau. Sure enough, seeing that this immortal sect leader didn't put on an unreachable air, some people's hearts began to move. Dear immortals? Wang Qinian once again played the role of the village chief, mustering up the courage to speak for the villagers at the critical moment. However, before he could speak, Wang Lu had already interrupted him and said, "The Wang family village is a treasured land of feng shui. When I wandered down to the mortal dimension, I found this place to be the most suitable place to establish an altar. Unfortunately, my time in the mortal dimension has come to an end today and I have no choice but to return to the immortal dimension. I'll come back again when I need to establish an altar in the future." After he finished speaking, he disappeared in a flash, causing the old village chief to choke on his words. Then he heard Wu Feihua sigh. Has Cult Master ascended to the immortal world again? The dirty old man gently nodded with a face full of reverence. You're worthy to be a person from the immortal world. You come and go without a trace. You're like a dragon that shows its head but not its tail. The saintess was speechless. Weren't these two people too engrossed in their acting? What's more, it's like a mysterious dragon showing its head but not its tail. You were the one who used invisibility to hide Wang Lu. He's still watching the show from my side. However, only by acting realistically could you win people's trust. Sure enough, upon hearing the words ascended to the immortal world, Wang Qinian was even more aghast. Cult Master, he's actually a Taoist immortal? Although as early as the 7-star sect, the people of the Wang family village affectionately called them Taoist immortals, they actually knew that they were just cultivators, not real immortals. However, even if they were cultivators, they were still 17 or 18 levels higher than mortals, so they eagerly fawned on them. But looking at the current situation, there was actually an immortal? However, when he thought about it carefully, it didn't seem too unbelievable. The dirty old man and Wu Feihua, these two Taoist immortals, were already amazing. Later on, the saintess was even stronger than them. Finally, when the cult master personally came, even the saintess had to bow down to him. Wang Qinian only needed to think about these layers of progressive relationships, and it was not difficult for him to come to a conclusion. If he was not a real Taoist immortal, how could he subdue these several great cultivators before him? The dirty old man also laughed. Of course, cult master is a real Taoist immortal. Unfortunately, the cult master is still in the immortal world, and it takes a long time before he can descend to the lower realm. Every time he descends to the lower realm, he still needs to condense his body, which is not easy. For you to be able to see him, I don't know how many generations of good fortune you have cultivated. The villagers hastily echoed his words and kowtowed. At this time it was the old village head, Wang Qinian, who displayed his unique wisdom. Just now, I heard from cult master that the Wang family village is a feng shui treasure land. I don't know, the dirty old man explained, the surrounding spiritual energy here is rich, which is an excellent place for cultivation. The seven-star sect also fancied this place's spiritual energy, so they set up the yin-yang life and death array, which turned the spiritual energy into dead energy, and then stimulated it with the village's vitality. This kind of place is rare in the entire 9 regions. Unfortunately, that devil sect, the seven-star sect, found this treasure land, but they only wanted to destroy it to refine their devil treasure. How short-sighted they are. Regarding the surrounding spiritual energy and devil treasure, Wang Qinian naturally didn't know much, but he knew that a huge opportunity was right in front of him. Thinking about what the cult master just said about setting up the altar, the old man's heart couldn't stop pounding. Thinking back to the time when the seven-star sect was still around, the villagers fawned on those publicity ambassadors and cultivators in every possible way. They even built a courtyard for them, but they could only let them stay here for a while and occasionally preach. Of course, now it seemed that everything was very reasonable. They originally planned to blow up the mountain, so how could they possibly stay here for a long time? However, if this wisdom sect set up an altar here, then it was simply, Senior Taoist Immortal, may I ask what exactly is the matter with the altar that cult master just said? The so-called altar is to condense the scattered surrounding spiritual energy and transform it into elixirs, spirit stones and other things which are convenient for cultivators to cultivate. However, the cult master just casually said that, the establishment of the altar is likely to change the direction of the surrounding spiritual energy and affect the feng shui. At least, it needs the consent of the local people. Wang Qinian of course agreed. He nodded again and again. Taoist Immortal is the savior of our entire village. If there's a need, please feel free to do it. That being the case. Senior Holy Maiden, what do you think? What else could the Holy Maiden think? After she finished her part of the play, she was already bored. If you guys want to do it, then do it. The dirty old man was suddenly stunned, thinking, Senior Holy Maiden, why don't you act according to common sense? The script isn't written like this, you should be more enthusiastic, more excited? However, the dirty old man was indeed worthy to be a former professional swindler. His on-the-spot response was extremely fast. With Senior Holy Maiden's approval, I think we can get twice the result with half the effort. Fei Hua and I will go and prepare the materials first. In 2 days we will come here to set up the altar. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.